how are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Cold and hot all at the same time. So,
A lot of super shoes.
Are you gonna go in there? Yeah, come on, she is. Come on.
We need to go in the middle then to not have to sit everybody around.
It's wrong mindset.
And our good
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Why, that's probably not the best.
provide that I'm not already perfect.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
If anything, it's
Good.
You can skip three that way.
it's hard. Who wants something else to do?
Thank you.
I can see him.
I was nice to you, I didn't question.
I get that. You know, Greg.
Tell you that pretty good.
Still got your full-time job.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna turn that on now. So it's,
That's
Oh, yeah.
to update your new webpage.
Yeah. Well, that was honestly what made us think of it today.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I really enjoyed visiting with you. It was nice.
Oh, good.
And the sisters. Yeah.
Good.
That's not what I wanted.
Good.
Right. So, right.
It's working.
Ready?
Yep.
Jeremy, my office furniture came in today. Set it up. The wardrobe and the desk. And cool. So,
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that is approved. 5 school board basics, put students first.
Follow the law and your own policy.
Respect the chain of command.
Base decisions on shared objective information.
And operate in the public eye. The Sibley-Ocheyedan mission statement says, at Sibley-Ocheyedan Schools, we build partnerships to challenge minds, to invest in community, and to embrace life. We will go down to the consent items. Kendra handed us an extra
Is
one.
there anyone here for? I don't think so.
Yeah, there's
right.
no public forum.
Perfect.
There's only 2 extra bills, so
We have to leave it.
not very much.
Not very much. So looking that over, is there anything, any questions? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that is passed. New business. The acceptance of abstract of election.
Yeah. So one of the things we actually have to do is accept and approve of the abstract. That has to be done first by the county commissioners to verify everything that was approved and said, and that they all are attached here. It's an example showing that the issue for the voted PEPAL renewal did not pass, and then it shows, the results from the votes in all 4 districts that were on the ballot. We have the paper version as well, but this is the attachment of them. So if we get to that point, we can approve them all at once.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Make a motion to approve the acceptance of the abstract of election.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that is passed. Approve work for elementary cabinet unit heater boiler of SiteLogic.
Yeah, I put this on this meeting because you've had some updates on that as the existing board. This would be for what we've kind of discussed in some of my updates, the existing cabinet unit or heater loop that was not being fully functioning and didn't have a boiler to that. So this is the work to do that work, the proposal, excuse me, to do that work as we've mentioned previously from previous communications.
Okay,
Or are they coming on the other stuff that needed to get done?
Other than HVAC, pretty much everything's wrapping up. Still working through with some of the engineers from EDA and SiteLogic. I think they're going to hopefully have a meeting this week while I'm gone. But an update on some of the issues to work through and lessening the alarms and things like that that are going on. They weren't there today, were they?
No.
No.
okay. It'll be nice to get that done.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the work for the elementary cabinet unit heater boiler from SiteLogic.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that is passed. Annual financial report.
So there is a electronic version, but you also get a paper. But I will highlight a few things, but we thought we'd start with Kendra on the simple treasurer's report.
This is just a report from the CAR the annual report that I file every year, and it's just a basic report that shows the beginning balance of all of our funds, the revenue that was brought in, the expenditures, and then the ending balance of the different funds. Most of them you guys are familiar with. The ones on the end, the trust fund, we have some scholarships that are held in a fund here. And then enterprise fund would be the nutrition fund is what's in that one. So we'll go over some of those funds later as we have new board members so they can understand, but that's just a really brief overview of what funds we have and what came in and went out for the year. Any questions?
And for the most part, our summary when we're talking is general fund. I will point out if you look at the save statewide sale on Kendra's thing here, save statewide sales and services tax fund, we started at 715,000 and finished at 4.3 million. Do you know why? It's timing. We had the revenue bond sale, but this is fiscal year in June 30, and at that point, still had a majority of the bills left to pay. Right. So it's just timing of when, like you have in a balance sheet, it's your balance as a date and time, as a point in time, right? So it's just the timing of it.
Same with football. There was quite a few projects that were paid in July and August that we had done over the summer.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so the financial health report, I'll pull up here electronically, but it should be mirrored to what you have, and you can view electronically or your paper copy. And I'll just point out a few things or let you ask some questions. There's definitions and so forth. Overall, if I had to summarize, and like I said, most of this is obviously coming straight from our general fund account. Overall, in a strong financial position. If I had to summarize, you might look at a few numbers that are down, but they're still at or above target level. I'll point out a few of those things as we go here. If you look for the selected balance sheet comparison general fund only, one of the things that I'm going to point out here, and that'll be a little bit of a change or an explanation of a reoccurring, so it's one of the first pages there, the third page, okay? We've talked about with our UAB or unspent authorized budget, how we basically almost broke even, right? Last year for in essence, on a multi-million-dollar budget, we did when it was down 800,000. But if you look here, why are we down with our assets, 500 and some $1,000? Okay, number one, remember there's a difference between cash and our UAB. So some of this is timing, specifically with the receivables, okay, just of maybe when we got a payment for certain accounts from the state. So we might have a receivable but not in as of cash. The other big reason really is the drop in cash, which we'll talk about, and there's a couple reasons for that. One of the big reasons is our special ed account and the spending on that. We were $300,000 over, right? And we got that back in authority, but that doesn't come with cash. Okay, so yes, we got that back in authority, and that was money already spent, and we have to do that for special ed. You got to remember, authority and cash aren't the same thing, so we had spent that in cash, but we don't get that back. You can do things, what's called levying for cash. We're not in a position to do so because we actually have too much cash in terms of worrying about that or levying for cash. But that is one of the reasons that was spent down, because of our reserves, special ed. And then some of that is due to timings with the school safety grant in spending and doing the projects on that, but have them not completed. We actually won't receive those funds till this year. And actually this week just got notice, I think we got that all worked out.
I hope so.
Yeah. Today, the email that we should be getting that shortly. So there's $150,000 right there from the school safety grant that we had budgeted for last year, but isn't going to happen until this year. So those two things right there, that's $400-some thousand in cash. And why? So when you're looking at that, why can we be down that much in cash? When I said our UAB, remember, cash and UAB are two different things. So a few other things to point out, and then feel free to ask questions here. I'm not going to go through every item on here, but if you look at, I'll get the financial solvency ratio, it's about right in the middle of your packet. We have not talked about this a lot in the past because it's not something that we've had to worry about. And usually your focus with a school budget is your unspent balance. I highlighted it in red just to point it out. We're still well above target measures and everything like that, but what I just highlighted in talking about spending down cash, that's part of the reason our ratio went from 37 to 31%. And that is something, not in these next few years, but down the road that we'll have to pay attention to, specifically where we're at from a cash and solvency point compared to our unspent balance. You can't even ask, or what they call levy for cash, until you get that ratio below 20%. So we're not even to that point yet, and I'm not saying that's a concern. We're still at a strong point, but that is, you can see over the last 5 years going down, and there's reasons for that. We can't levy for more cash, and when you're generally overspending your UAB, your cash position is going to go down. And then for budget purposes, how you generate more spending authority is students, and we've had a decrease in enrollment. So some of these things are expected just because of the realities of school budgeting, school finance, and enrollment. So just pointing that out, not like as a red of concern, but more of a notice to pay attention to as we talk about that moving forward in future years. And then our investment income, one of the reasons that's down, last year we had higher, we had 2 years ago, 166,000. Last year about 76,000 in interest income specifically. A couple of reasons for that. Number one, interest rates were a little lower over the past year than the year before. And then number two is just simple math. If all else is held similar and overall you have less cash and your rate's the same, you're going to generate less interest income. So those would be the main reasons for that dip right there. And then the other thing that I'd like to point out, and then I'll gladly answer any questions, it's about page 21, 22, right in there, towards the back, your unspent balance ratio, and then we have several pages in a row that talk about our unspent balance. But just from a familiarity standpoint, when I talked last month about our UAB, you should see on the side here that $8,377 in parentheses, which means in finance terms that's a negative number. That's when I said we went down, our UAB went down about $8,000. That's that number right there, the same thing. Came through on our calculations the same way. When I say we about broke even, we did, but when you're talking a budget of $10 million and being your unspent authority going down by $8,000, that's pretty close to breaking even right in there. You can remember last year, the year before, our authority went down by $270,000. So just pointing that out. This year, we'll see where we end up. Remember, your enrollment's always a year behind, so this is the year where we're living in the world of up 20 students, right, from last year. It'll be next fiscal year where we're in the world of down the 46 students, right? Because the enrollment is always based on the next fiscal year. So this fall's enrollment is next fiscal year's budget enrollment. So, and the other ratios from there are very similar, just showing on the next page, it's showing the same thing, but showing what we spent of our UAB, and we spent just over 100,000. I said we were pretty close to breaking even, but we were slightly above that. And then some other ways that we have to report things to the state in different formats in terms of what our regular program, unspent authorized budget, and our categorical. I know a handful of years before I stepped into this position, we had really high categorical balances. And so that was one of the goals, is to spend those down, because we didn't have much in our general fund, but we did in the categoricals. And I think overall the district's done a good job of that. And then those other charts in the back here are just showing that, and our enrollment in trend that we budget our information on is there. So those are kind of the things that I wanted to highlight from there. Gladly answer any other questions, but from a big 10,000 foot view maybe, those are some of the highlights from the overall financial statement summary. I do, before I answer any questions, want to thank Kendra and Chrissy for their work on this. Kendra ultimately during the year keeping up and getting the stuff entered and working on putting these numbers together with her, and then Chrissy for putting the information together for us, printing it out and everything. So thank you to both of them and their work. But any other questions that you guys have on this now that I can try to answer?
The interest rate on the idle funds, is there like options or places you can put that to earn higher interest, or is that all restricted?
Approved. So we have the two banks in town, Iowa State Bank and Sibley State Bank. And then we also approved as a depository last spring or this summer, specifically for some of our bond proceeds with ISJIT. Don't ask me off the top of my head what that whole acronym stands for, but I couldn't say it off the top of my head.
Iowa School Joint Investment Trust.
Trust? Okay, yeah, I didn't know the T. I wasn't going to guess, but somewhere in there. That has a little bit higher rate, so those would be our approved places for funds. And that's something we've talked about. You want to keep your money local, but if there's a big enough disparity that they're offering higher rates, when do we put them in there? And we did that with our bond funds.
Yeah, actually, our local Iowa State Bank was good about matching.
Yep,
So we just ordered on that.
once we offered it, yep. Yeah, when they're ready. I gladly answer other questions. Please ask them. But then at the end, yeah, we do have to motion to approve them.
Yep.
But I don't want to cut things
No.
off. I gladly
No.
would answer other
Okay.
questions.
A lot of numbers, but I appreciate how you've taken the time to educate us in what these bonds mean and how they work, because it can be
Yeah.
confusing. It can be confusing.
Yeah, in the last 3 years, like I'm bringing up a ratio tonight that I've probably hardly ever talked about with you before, the financial solvency, because honestly, our solvency rate was so high, there isn't anything we could do with it, and it wasn't a worry. UAB's our worry, right? But that is something now, as that starts going down, that we'll have to pay attention to in the future, and it'll probably go down at a like rate, or a similar rate, maybe not exactly as our UAB, which is something we'll have to continue to be aware of in the future. Any other questions that I can answer?
would somebody like to make a motion to approve the report?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And our last task here before we close out the meeting, I want to thank Laurel and Greg for their hard work and service to our district. Laurel serving as president here for the last 2 years in her first term, and then Greg as well for vice president for multiple years and actually serving as 2 terms, and just appreciate their dedication and service to our district. And so I just wanted to personally thank both of them, and not that I want to see you go, but I appreciate all that you've done in service to our district and our students and staff. So thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure working with you guys too.
Okay. We will go on to, is there?
We'd have
a
to, motion to adjourn. Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So
We are
moved, so
adjourned. Okay.
thank you both of you, appreciate
Yes.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Are we good? Do we need,
Yeah.
that wasn't so long that we need bathroom.
Keep chugging through.
So, yeah, we will enter the next meeting, so there's no reason they can't come up here.
No.
Right,
I just
so-
need 1 second to switch them.
Just switch over to the meeting. You guys can come on, take a seat, doesn't matter where. So before we begin, we'll get started with this, but actually, since none of the new members have been sworn in and we don't have a president for the new board year, Kendra will actually operate in that role once we get started here. And we'll jump through all the annual things that we need to approve and so forth and set that up. So
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
I will call the meeting to order. The first item is the roll call, so you can just, I'll say your name and you can just say that you're present. Tom Taylor,
Here.
Jennifer,
Here.
Jamie,
Here.
Denise.
Here.
Arthur.
Here.
The next is the approval of the agenda, so if we can have somebody make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, now we will do the oath of office to each of the members that were elected during this, for this next term. So Jamie, we'll start with you. I don't know where to go. Okay. Jamie Aaron, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board member in the Sibley-Ocheyedan Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay. Denise? Okay, Denise Finnegan, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board member in the Sibley-Ocheyedan Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay. Tom Taylor, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board member in the Sibley-Ocheyedan Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay, Arthur Eddy, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board member in the Sibley Ocheyedan Community School District as now and hereafter required by law.
I do.
Okay.
So what you should have received, you have in there is an actual certificate verifying the abstract and the canvassing of votes, and then a printout from Rochelle that she provided with us, just updating the requirements for the training for new board members, which we've talked about, right? Or I've talked to each of you about, and then a printout, a really exciting printout of Iowa code that explains why those need to happen, the section of code that deals with that. So you may read that in some of your light free reading time if you really want to, the Iowa code, but she printed that out to hand out to the newly elected board members.
Okay, so the next item is the election of board president.
So how we'll do this, I'll try and summarize this as we kind of use the note cards, but we need to first have nominations, for lack of better words, for those that would be nominated to the office of board president. There can be a discussion. We've done that in the past on the note cards, and then based on the nominations we get, we would do a vote for that, and then whoever gets the most votes, we would make a motion, second, and support and approve of that. So right now would be the time to discuss or to bring up who would be willing to be our board president for the next year.
Year.
I was going to say for the next 2 years, but that's not accurate. It'd be for the next year.
Why is that?
Because we'll have an annual meeting again next year to reapprove the board member. We won't have elections, but you approve that annually. That's why.
I'd be willing to be the board president, I guess, or nominate myself.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be. It does help to have some experience to be board president. Doesn't have to be, but that would be.
You've been here the longest out of all I know, because you feel like I'm honing in on you.
Okay. So we can throw things in, but I'm hearing Jamie's name. Is anyone else want to feel likewise to be nominated or to nominate anyone else?
Sounds good.
Well, I think we can avoid, I'm not hearing any other discussion from anyone or anyone jumping at that, right? So being that we only have one person nominated, I think we can move forward with the vote. Would you agree, Kendra?
Yeah.
With what we talked about?
Yeah. So we'll just need a motion to nominate him.
A motion to nominate him.
Okay. And then a second.
I second.
Okay. It's been motioned and seconded to elect Jamie Aaron to the position of board president. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So you probably want to move over here.
Okay, yeah, let's-
Musical chairs.
you can take that with you, Arthur. You can take that with you. There you go.
So we have to do both of office for that for you.
Oh.
It's the same thing. Okay, Jamie Aaron, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of President in Sibley Ocheyedan Community School Board President in Sibley Ocheyedan Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay. So now you can take over the meeting.
Yeah, thank you everyone for that.
All right.
So now we're to the point as Jamie's gathering his things here
Yeah.
to elect, nominate, vote on, and elect the vice president. In policy, basically the summary of it is the vice president of the board is elected by majority vote. After this, basically their main responsibility is in the case if the board president is unwilling or unable to serve or not here that night, then they run the meeting in place of them. That's probably their biggest duty. you can ask Greg how big of a duty it is since he's still sitting back here. He served in that role for the last handful of years, so that's probably the, I'm trying to think of other things that come along with that, but that's probably the biggest responsibility would be if there's a conflict or something that Jamie couldn't be here, then they fill in that role. So now would be the time I can hand these out to offer nominations, or do you want to have a discussion? That's up to you guys.
You've been here the second longest.
Sounds like a nomination to me.
Do we have any, I'm hearing nomination for Jennifer. Do we have any others?
Doesn't sound like it.
So, you can ask for a motion.
Okay, I'll make, do we have a motion to elect Jennifer as vice president?
I motion to elect Jennifer as vice president.
I'll second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to make Jennifer Braun the vice president of the Sibley Ocheyedan School Board.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Yep, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passes.
Motion passes, yep. Congratulations, Jennifer.
Great. See me up there? Okay.
Okay, Jennifer Braun, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board Vice President in the Sibley Ocheyedan Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay.
Great. Well, congratulations, everyone, for being on the board and for our positions as well. I appreciate you guys' service. So we just exited the new board and welcome you in the new board. So thank you for your willingness to serve, and we look forward to the future here. So we are on to H there, Jamie.
Okay. So the next item is we need to appoint a board secretary/treasurer.
I would recommend approving Kendra Ryder in that role, but we do have to approve that annually. So we,
Someone else wants to.
Well, we enjoy Kendra doing
I think
that.
Kendra does great work.
Right.
Yes.
I would pass on that with faster than any of the other ones.
yeah, so
So
like
there's
anything,
a
we'll need a motion and a
Motion
second.
to
Yep.
approve Kendra.
I'll make a motion to approve Kendra as board secretary treasurer.
I'll second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to make Kendra Ryder our board secretary/treasurer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Yes, for a roll, or is that a?
Nope, it's just gonna do all those in favor, yep.
All those in favor? I remember. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
This next one we can have a little discussion on. We currently meet on the third Monday of each month at 5:30. Obviously, there's exceptions if there's conflicts, but that's our standard meeting time. The current location is right here, and it's worked out well. And like I said, obviously, there's certain times, maybe it's according to law, like in April with maybe a budget timeline or things like that with conflicts that will adjust. We usually do that ahead of time. But we do need to approve of the official scheduled meeting date. Board policy is that, but if we change it, then we would match board policy to meet that. The current policy says the third Monday, because that's what we've set up, right? It says the regular board meetings will be held the third Monday of each month at 5:30. Obviously, there's exceptions to that, so if that works, great, that's all we need to do. If we decide that doesn't work and we want to change that, we would need to determine that tonight, so.
I motion to keep it.
Yeah, I don't have a reason to change it, but we're just required to approve that each year. Does that work for the interview, guys? Okay. So then we,
So I heard a motion to go ahead and pass the meeting date as the same as it has been in the past for 25-26. Is there a second?
Second.
So it's moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
all right, so for the board committees, the board uses 3 committees throughout the year: facilities, finance negotiations, and policy. These were what they were for the past year. I have them on there. We would need to set that tonight. We'll determine that overall, and then we'll approve that. I do have some recommendations for this that I'll say, not necessarily person-specific, but maybe position-specific. My recommendations would be, and then feel free to discuss after this, policy. That's a good committee to get familiar with. I would say that would be good to have 2 new board members on. Jennifer served on that on the past 2 years as a new board member. I know we have 3 new board members, so my recommendation would have 2 serve on that. Committees can only have 2. Our finance negotiations, my recommendation there would be to have our board president and then someone else. That could be one of the other new board members. That'd be fine, but just Jamie served on it in the past and as board president. And then for the facilities committee, that's kind of hit and miss, and when we meet, I was going to recommend have whoever served in the vice president role to be on that committee, and then one of the other board members be on that. It ends up one person's on 2 committees, if you just do the math, because we have 2 people in each committee and 5 board members. So that'll probably be one of the new board members will be on 2 committees. It doesn't make a difference to me who, and that's why I said some suggestions, but I don't have names attached. It doesn't make a difference to me who's on the policy committee, which 2. I have no preference. I would just say from an experience standpoint, the board president with someone else for the finance committee, and then likewise the vice president with someone else on the facilities committee. I generally try to only meet when we need to meet and not make a habit of meeting just for the sake of meeting. Our policy committee, we meet a few times in person, but we've moved more to, if it's reviewing policy, we've moved to, I review it ahead of time and make some suggestions, and then I would send it out to Jennifer and Laurel, and then they ask questions if they have any, or say it looks good to me. Would that be a fair way of saying it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the only times we really met in person the last year is when we had policy updates recommended from IASB for legal reasons that we discussed, but we usually did those virtually other than that. Would that be a fair summary? Yeah. So that's me done talking now. What are you guys' thoughts?
I wouldn't mind being on policies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Are you good with that?
Works for me.
Okay, so Tom and Denise on policy. And then let's just work up here. Then finance negotiations. Determine if you're going to, my recommendation was President Jamie and someone else. So I'm going to just say, since you're not on one, Arthur.
That'd be fine.
Okay, so Jamie and Arthur on finance/negotiations. And then for facilities, this one I've used, we maybe won't have as many meetings this year as we did in the last year. We just had some discussion when we've had like the facilities project going on and some updates. This year it'll maybe be when we get to that point, what some of our next priorities are for improvements and use of Pebble and things like that I'll discuss with them before we get to the board level thing. So Jennifer and then someone else that'd be willing to serve.
I would do that one.
Tom, are you guys okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, so for facilities, Tom and Jennifer. So could you read those again, just so we're clear on that, and then we can make the motion?
Okay, policy, we have Tom and Denise. Finance, we have Jamie and Arthur. Facilities, Jennifer and Tom.
So the motion could be to the committees as read by
Make a
Kendra.
motion to have the committees read by Kendra to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint the board committees as written down by Kendra. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimous. You're supposed to say unanimously.
Yeah, it works. The publications for the next ones, we need to appoint a publication. We have in the past actually done this for 2 different papers. So we use both the Ocheyedan Press News and the Osceola County Gazette Tribune as the official publications. And my recommendation is we continue to use both.
I'll motion to keep them.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to keep the publications the same. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to legal counsel.
So we approve this annually. We utilize Mr. Steve Avery of Cornwall, Avery, Bjornstead, and Scott, legal agency from Spencer, Iowa. He's a part of the Iowa Association of School Board Attorneys and attends meetings and works with IASB, the Iowa Association of School Boards, and stays up to date with that. So that would be my recommendation.
I know he's out of Spencer. Is there anybody locally with any of the attorneys here in town that specialize in it at all? That
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I'm not saying they do or don't. I'm
okay,
just
I
saying
was
not.
just curious to.
Great. Not that I'm aware of, and no one's ever spoken to me about it. It is kind of a unique thing with school
Okay.
law.
I think Steve's been our attorney for quite a few years too, hasn't he? I mean,
Yeah.
he has been all.
Since I've been
Yeah,
here.
He's been there a long time.
Yeah, since I've been there, I don't know how long before, and he serves, I don't know, I mean, a number of schools in the area.
Okay.
Yes. We're not the only one.
I was just curious.
No, that's a
Yeah.
great, no, this is the time to ask that. That's a good question. I would say probably in our area, I guess I don't have a listing of everyone, but most everyone that I'm familiar is one of two. Like they have Cornwall, Avery, Bjornstad, and Scott, and usually Steve Avery, or they have Allers and Cooney out of Des Moines.
Okay.
Those are the two most common ones. There might be a few schools that maybe have something different, but
Yep.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, do you have a motion to approve Mr. Avery as our legal counsel?
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Avery as the legal counsel.
Is there a
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Mr. Avery as our legal counsel. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, appoint open enrollment contact.
So we have to do this annually, and the motion I would say is appoint the position superintendent as the open enrollment contact.
I'll motion to keep it the same.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So it's moved and seconded to appoint the open enrollment contact as the superintendent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
So this is something locally that we do. The Sibley Ocheyedan Education Foundation, we have a board representative. In the past, this past year, it's been Laurel. I will say that they are making an effort to be more visible and have a little more, I don't know what the word I want to use for, but be more visible, a little more interaction out there and make the foundation more known and do more than just do a fundraising thing and approve some grants for the teachers. They're working on doing a lot more visibility of the things for the school, promoting school activities and supporting students and teachers, and I think that's a great thing. So it's been a few meetings a year. They don't meet monthly. I know they're going to have one again here in December to talk about some things coming up, and one of their focuses is going to be have a reenact their Facebook page and tie that to different things, recognizing staff and things like that. So yeah, that's my summary of that. So typically in the past, I'm on that, and then we've had a board representative on that foundation as well.
All right, so is there anybody that would be wanting or willing to do that? Denise, you?
Awesome.
Okay, so I do have a motion to have Denise.
Make a motion to approve Denise to be on the Student Education Foundation Board.
I'll second it.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to appoint Denise as the Sibley Ocheyedan Education Foundation Board Representative. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Denise.
Yeah, thank you.
The Osceola County Conference Board member, other than what I read here, I don't know a lot more about it. Greg served on this role in the past, so we'll have to have someone different this year, obviously. It's comprised of the mayors, a representative from the board of directors of each high school district in the county, and members of the county board of supervisors. And they meet, the conference's main responsibility is to review and approve the assessors, that's the county assessors' annual budget, and they work to establish the valuation that has a direct impact on the county, city, and school's ability to levy for their budgets and have taxes, is what that means. It's generally one meeting a year. If I remember right from what Greg said last year, I think they might have met twice actually, or more than once, but I don't remember off the top of my head, so. But we are supposed to appoint someone from this body to serve on the the Osceola County Conference. Don't jump all at once.
Do they meet during the day?
You share anything on that, Greg?
It's not, it depends. I've been to them where I've had 5 meetings, and I've been to them when I've had 1 meeting.
Are they after hours or after?
It's when the Board of Supervisors meet. It's at a regular supervisors meeting.
Oh,
Right before.
So it's during the day.
It's usually like, what, 8:30?
morning, yeah, morning time.
8:30.
That's more than I knew right there, so.
We've been to them, but we
Yeah.
know.
My husband's been to it.
And it's really kind of different
Yeah, you know
because
that.
it's, you need county to do it, I guess. Because actually you're approving the budget for that board, for the county.
Assessors.
For the assessors.
Yeah.
For the assessor.
How far in advance do you find out like when the meeting is? Like a week before, a month before? Like how far in advance is it set
Oh,
up?
no, they give you a little notice. But like I say, it's during the day,
Yeah.
so.
Because I'm trying to think when the sign usually, is it February?
I think so.
It's before budgets, so. I think it's usually in February,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
it says they're getting the county budgets ready, so.
Is there anyone that would potentially work for or be willing to serve there?
I could sign up for that one.
Okay. Is that okay with everyone else? Okay.
All right, do I have a?
Yep.
Well,
I'll motion
motion.
to, I'll motion
Okay.
to let Jamie assume that role on the Osceola County Board.
I'll second it.
All right, so it's moved and seconded to appoint Jamie as the Osceola County Conference Board member. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
This one we do have to approve, but generally speaking, it is the ISBA board. Our local president for the ISB, they like to have a board member for each school serve as an advocacy representative. It's typically been our board president. There's sometimes in the past when Kyle Grimes was on the board and president, he was on their board, so he went, I can't remember, is it early or late after convention, he'd stay for their.
That's the day after.
Is it the day after? That he'd stay on that, because he was actually on the ISB advocacy board, that he'd stay on that. And sometimes they send out information to each of the board member advocacy representatives. That's the person that I can say from our district most recently has been actively engaged with it.
But it's typically been the board president.
Yes, it has been, yep. But yeah, we still have to approve that.
Yeah, I guess I'd be willing to do that.
Like, are you good with that, Jamie?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Other than that, I think it is reading stuff during the year. They might send out some information,
Right.
and there might be some things to attend, but not necessarily have to, so. Yep.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint our board president to serve as the advocacy representative.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to appoint our board president as the ISAB board advocacy representative. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
We are supposed to, at the board, approve our SiAC representative/representatives. It could be up to 2, it can be just 1 board member. We typically meet once or twice a year to present different topics. We can use different things as a part of that. This year, I was able to incorporate when we did like the Voted Pepple Community Forum as a part of presenting that information. It'll be interesting moving forward what they do with this legislatively, because right now the understanding is any appointed committee or board has to have the IPIB training. And so their understanding, they don't think this was the intention, but the way it's worded forward, if we would have another SiAC meeting where community members volunteered to be on that, each community member that volunteered to serve on SiAC would also have to do the IPIB training that you guys have to go to as of right now. So not going to intentionally have a lot of SiAC meetings for that reason, moving forward until we have some further guidance on that. And right now we're covered, but we'll probably have one before this meeting next year at some point because we have to do it annually, if that makes sense.
Can I ask what SiAC stands for?
School Improvement Advisory Committee. There's usually a bare list of minimums that we have to do with that, and then we present information on that to the into the public. A handful of years ago from SiAC is where we have the new school mission statement with the engage, empower, educate. We've done some information on different, I'm trying to think over the years, we've done some information on some of our student scores, and then we've talked about school and parent organization and communication. This past year, I used that to fill that as part of that, our Voted Pepple Community Forum. So it's a committee generally meeting, but they can discuss things about school improvement, for lack of a better word, which is a pretty broad topic.
Yeah.
And we haven't had more than a handful of meetings on this in the past, just so you know. But we do have to appoint 1 up to 2 members for this committee.
And there's it's like teachers are on that committee.
Yeah, can be. If we meet in a smaller group where we have a specific topic, we've had community members, teachers, administration, board members, things like that. If we would do one of those again this year, that's why I'm a little hesitant. The way the code reads now, anyone that would attend that then would have to do the IPIB training right now. So we'll see where that heads.
Okay.
I'm just saying that out there so that people know that, because that's the guidance we've been given to this point. Anyone would be willing to serve on that? Tom? Okay.
I can too.
And Jennifer? Perfect. And that way, yeah, and it could be we have a meeting coming up and maybe it doesn't work for one or either of you, then the other can go. That'd be perfect.
All right, so motion.
Make a motion to appoint Tom and Jennifer to the SiAC as SiAC representatives.
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to appoint Jennifer and Tom as our SiAC representative. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Now that we know who our board president and vice president is and so forth moving forward, we have to have this in the minutes and approve, but recommend to approve having the president and vice president, and I put that on here because we didn't know who that would be, to be the authorized signer on the district's checking accounts, as well as Kendra as SBO, school board secretary. There will be some paperwork that has to go with this, and we'll, I think we have to present the minutes to the banks. Is that right, Kendra?
Yeah, so I'll send that to the banks and they'll get the card, signature card thing ready for you guys to go sign. I can let you know when it's ready.
Okay.
So really, we just need a motion as the
I'll
recommendation reads.
I'll
Yep.
motion the authorized signatures as it reads.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the president, vice president as authorized signatures for 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
So the next one is something locally we approve, not required by any means, but locally and in just in terms of public awareness and our own policies and ideas. But we continue to stream our board meetings monthly, and so I would just recommend we have a discussion if we want to continue to do that. Not required by law in any way, but I think since I've been here, we've done that in terms of, and been here as superintendent, and I've had good feedback on it. So I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I just think it's something good to approve annually rather than just stand
Yeah.
saying we're gonna stream our stances when we do and don't, like, you know what I mean? We've generally streamed our regularly scheduled monthly board meetings, and then maybe like the ones on the budgets that occur outside of that. We don't stream like our work sessions and things like that.
Do you know how many people actually watch them?
It kind of varies sometimes by what the topics are and things like that. I'm trying to think, like, you know, the meeting we had last, is it February, when we were talking about conference stuff, had a lot more viewership than maybe some of your other typical meetings. I'd say it's usually in that 80 to 100 range by the time you get to the next month that have viewed it. I haven't checked in
good
last
view.
months, but that's generally where it was when I usually looked in the past, somewhere in there.
And is it a shortcut to it, like on the website and then also on Facebook? Or is it
I haven't put it on Facebook. But if you subscribe to like the Generals
Yep.
TV,
Yep.
like, yeah, this is the one for tonight. It's usually the first one that comes up, or
Yep.
SO Media, right?
Yep.
There's 5 people watching right now.
Right now, right, yeah. Hopefully not one of them's myself, or keep going back. Hey, now there's 6, now there's 7. No.
Okay.
I'll motion to keep streaming on YouTube.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to continue streaming our monthly board meetings on YouTube. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
All right, yeah, we got through some of our annual stuff there, so now we're gonna get a chance to hear from the principals and hear someone else talk besides myself here, so.
All right, so we're looking at our principal's report. We'll start with Mr. Hertz.
Oh, changing it up.
Oh, sorry, I was looking out, sorry, let's start with.
Yeah, it's okay. We can switch it up occasionally too. But not a lot to report. I know you guys had access to my report. I guess in summary, I would say we're just we're in it. We are kind of through the first quarter. The first quarter is time to build relationships, get to know our kiddos, and now we are into the full academic learning. Not that we're not learning before, but just really in the swing of things. And so my report is an attempt to reflect that. We do continue to evaluate the needs of all learners through our MTSS process, our multi-tier system of supports, where if students don't or aren't understanding at that tier 1 level, every student is a tier 1 general education student, and if they need some more support, we try and implement that for a few weeks and see if that extra intervention or support helps, and then we take them depending on where that or what success we see there, we can kind of go up or down, and so trying to meet the needs of all students through that process. Like I said here, one area I've invested a lot more time is trying to strengthen. So we have like 3 different areas of our MTSS process. We have the reading academic area, the mathematical academic area, but also the behavioral, because if the behavior doesn't support the academics, there's no way that we can provide the academics needed. And so I've been trying to invest more time in understanding and supporting that behavioral process. And when I say behavioral, it's not the over-the-top behaviors. It's sometimes a lack of engagement, not quite on task all the time. And so trying to continue to provide interventions and teach expected behaviors and some of those kind of things to best support the learning environment in the classroom. So yeah, like I said repeatedly through here, our staff does such a wonderful job of working together to meet the needs of the students. So super proud of them, and we'll continue to push through and keep going. This can be a tough time of year in education for some students who don't always love the holidays, whether it's difficult to go home, whether it's things that have happened at previous holidays, some of those kind of things, the trauma that affects all of us sometimes, so just supporting kids through that as well. So I had a little bit of extra data from our conferences. We had 94% of our families that attended our conferences. 5 out of our 16, 17 classrooms had perfect attendance in some way or some form. A few of them had in-person perfect attendance. A couple of them had to reach out either via phone or email, but all of them had, those 5 classrooms had collaboration between the back and forth collaboration between the families. So very proud of that. Only 3 out of the 16 classrooms had less than 90%. So very proud of the staff and their work for that. I did an average here quick before. We averaged less than 1 family not connected with for parent-teacher conferences per classroom. So again, very, very proud of that. It's great data. Really right along our yearly average there. So we'll continue to work to connect with those 6% of families, but very proud of the 94% that we did reach. So our professional development has been mentoring programs, continuing to work on the IPTY-DIPTYs, as we call them, the Iowa Teacher Professional Development Plan. So each teacher has their own PD plan, and then we provide them time to work towards meeting those goals on a few Wednesdays. We've been working on a lot of curriculum work, and then obviously our MTSS, like I had talked about before. We've had a couple of, so one of the things that will be coming up is through the curricular portion of my position, the curriculum director, is a recommendation for math curriculum for implementation for next year. That will be coming here in the next few months, looking early second semester at that. Had one of those presentations, liked what we saw from the Curriculum Associates salesperson, which would be the iReady curriculum. Have another one coming up this week, Wednesday. So yeah, just a lot of diving in, seeing what will best meet our needs and meet the recommendations from the state with the new Math Counts Act and some of those kind of things. And so trying to blend those expectations from the state, but also the needs from our community and from our students. So also listed our staff attendance, both for daily attendance and then the professional development as the per the board goals. So, any questions?
Alrighty, well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, now you're up, Mr. Hurts.
Yeah, similar things to echo for the high school and middle school, kicking off and starting the winter sports season. So middle school basketball is going on. Today was the first practice date for boys wrestling, boys basketball. So just things are starting to kick off again. It is kind of a slower time between sports seasons, but now things will be getting busy again for students and staff that coach. And but I agree, we're in the thick of things for learning, and excited to see what's going on in classrooms. Other activities, the fall play, Why Bump Off Barnaby, big success if you went to see it. It was a lot of fun. The cleanup we did have to cancel. Nobody wanted to rake leaves in the snow. I don't blame them. I didn't want to either. Veterans Day program put on by our ag leadership group of students went really well. They got a lot of compliments. I thought they did a nice job there. So yeah, it's great to recognize those groups and appreciate their hard work and the time that they put in. Professional development, a big chunk of our time is on that individual professional development plan goals, so teachers can focus on new curricular areas, MTSS processes at that tier 1 level. So robust instruction is that tier 1 level, having good instruction in the classroom, and that's primarily what we're focused on there. We're also doing teacher spotlights or teachers lead trainings on topics they choose, and then staff can choose which of those offerings they want to attend. So far I'm hearing good things, and that was started due to feedback from staff wanting more options, wanting more things to go and learn about. So our new teachers and new staff going through their new teacher training, the AEA is leading that for us, and I think that's going really well. That'll wrap up here at the end of the semester. Mentoring continues for the rest of the year, but the AEA portion is done at the end of the semester. Updates from our BLT. Going to continue to look at making some changes to conferences in the spring. We're talking about going unscheduled for the first time in a while meaning we won't have parent schedule. It'll just be all stop in and teachers available to meet with parents, no pre-scheduling. Just some feedback from parents and from staff. Just gets difficult if you have multiple students and trying to line up those schedules. And sometimes I think it's a barrier. Parents feel like, well, I didn't schedule, so I'm not going to go. Because we do not have the attendance that the elementary does. Definitely our fall attendance was better than it has been in a couple of years. I don't have the raw data. I'll try to have that on my next presentation, but better, and I think going unscheduled might help with that, try to get more people in. So we're also looking at a new computer software where we can track passes that students have. So bathroom passes, nurse passes, passes to the office. We're looking at implementing that second semester. Talked to some schools who are doing it, and their staff have really enjoyed it. Timestamps when students go. It allows you to track and see, are students abusing that and asking to go places every single period, or are they doing what's intended? When you ask to go to the bathroom, that's really where you're going, is to the bathroom because you need to go. So just looking at those things. Yeah, I've got staff attendance at the bottom for PD and for day-to-day averaged out for the month. So any questions?
All right, well, thank you, Casey. All right, superintendent report from Mr. DeZale.
Yeah, talked about a lot of other things, so I'm not gonna highlight everything on here. Obviously spent some time with other admin on some of our PD and ISAP scores and reporting that, and spent a fair amount of time with PEPL preparations in terms of that. A few things that I do want to talk about on the bottom. Right now, our audit is happening this week, and remember, it's always for the prior year, so we're actually in FY26, so the audit is for FY25, so that started today. They do that remotely. Kendra spent a fair amount of time today on the phone and uploading and working with the auditors on that, and so we should have that finished by midweek, and then it's kind of in their hands in terms of when we get that back and are able to present the findings to you guys in the public. Christine and Kendra have to do a lot of extra work to get that done, and then on top of that had to do it the same week we were getting ready for a board meeting and other financials and stuff, so appreciate their work with that. I've mentioned this, but I'm just saying this, we are switching starting December 1. Haven't sent it out to all staff yet, but we're going to have a new time clock system. So we had something called Time Clock Plus before, which is a different company than what we use for our payroll and accounting and other software. So we're going to switch to Vista Time, which is the same company that does that, so that'll provide a lot of efficiency and benefits with that. And more importantly, it's significantly cheaper, which is always good to hear as well. So just something that there'll be some hiccups always when you switch things, and that'll start in December 1, but I think once we're on it a few days, it's going to be pretty simple for the staff that sign in. So yeah, that's basically, without reading everything verbatim, my summary.
All right, any questions? Okay, we move on to board committees.
Really, we haven't had anything to meet in the last month. Policy was something we did not meet. I kind of did that intentionally because we have one series left to review for this year in our 5-year review. And so I thought, let's wait till after the November meeting and I'll do that piece with them. So hopefully that'll be done before December.
All right, recognition of excellence.
So here to read recognition of excellence is Kyler Elser. A little information for our new board members. The senior class has 3 student council representatives, and they each rotate and take turns taking on this role. Kyler's a busy guy, so I had to steal him from practice to come do this. So thanks for being here, Kyler.
First, state cross country. Congratulations to the girls cross country team for placing 13th at the state meet in Fort Dodge on November 1st. Members of the team are Maya Poland, Riley Childs, Amale Benitez, Aaliyah Marco, Lucy Hightrader, and Gracie Hodens. The 2025 ICDA Opus Honor Choir, Maverick Van Egan and Natalia Gomez Mitchell. Northwest Iowa Bandmasters Association Honor Bands, Middle School Band, Owen Wolfswinkel, trumpet, and Paisley Kirkus, percussion, were selected after auditions to perform in the Northwest Iowa Bandmasters Association Middle School Honor Band. The concert was held at Dordt University on Saturday, November 8th. High school band. Lindy Tracy auditioned for the Northwest Iowa Bandmasters Association High School Honor Band. After a successful audition, she was selected to perform in the concert on Saturday, January 10. 2025 All-State Chorus. We are thrilled to announce that 3 high school choir students, Wyatt Cry, Gabriel Vandehoof, and Jordan Carpenter, have been selected for the 2025 All-State Chorus. They will have 2 days rehearsal in Ames on Friday and Saturday, November 21 and 22nd, and perform on Saturday night, November 22 at 7 p.m. in Hilton Coliseum on the Iowa State University campus in Ames. Volleyball, War Eagle All-Conference, Grace Seiler, first team in Academic All-Conference, Becca Wolber, second team in Academic All-Conference, Jackie Ochoa, honorable mention, Hadley Creighton, Academic All-Conference. Football, Class A, District 1 All-District teams, first team, Hunter Kaufman, Gage Greenfield, Tristan Wingate, Tanner Grease, Dawson Krakis, Kyler Elser, second team, Philip Van Lessen, Gavin Stanton. Honorable mention, Jackson Pedley, Tate Marco. All-District Academic Team, 11 through 12. GPA 3.25 or higher. Gavin Stanton, Caden Koima, Dawson Kirkus, Aiden Byer, Tate Marco, Jackson Pedley, Kyler Elser, Gage Greenfield, Hunter Kaufman, Luke Heilman, Gabe Beavers, Anderson Mendez, Espana. Football cheerleaders, all-district academic team, Sakira Alanis, Alexa Mejia Martinez, Tiffany Torres, Mariah Dake, Presley Henning, Olivia Lopez. October Generals of the Week. The Generals of the Week for October were elementary, William Hernandez Alvarez, middle school, Kenneth Glade, high school, Byron Alvera, staff, Kerry Krogman. October 10th, Joey Tenaple, middle school, McKenna Agena, high school, Ben Byers, staff, Angie Carlson. 10-17 elementary, Ella Marco, middle school, Desmond Woolmuth, high school, Salvador Zapeta, staff, Amy Dykstra. October 24th, elementary, DeAndre Quadros Barrios, middle school, Eli Truweiler, high school, Sebastian Lingle, staff, Maria Aldera.
Alrighty, well, thanks, Kyler.
Thanks, Kyler.
Congratulations.
A lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, that's a long one.
Long list.
All right, moving into discussion items.
Yeah, with the CTE, generally in the past we've had Matt Vermeer, but I asked him to move back. We had an opening with some staff things, and I thought we had enough things tonight, so he'll present on CTE in December. So we won't have one of those this evening, and move some other things around.
Okay, discussion on board member code of ethics.
So just in our policy and bringing this up, especially since we have a new board, one of our policies, and I'm not going to read this verbatim, but you can view at your own liking later, just school member code of ethics. I don't know when this was exactly put in this format, and I know when it was last reviewed, and it's based off IASB feedback. They have different versions that different schools have adopted, but all say similar things. So at some point, Sibley Ocheyedan adopted this, and I kind of like how it's laid out. But they just talk about in general as a school board member, and then responsibility to the district and the community, and with the superintendent and the employees, and so forth. And then with specifically with other board members, with other schools, I should say, other board members from other schools, and talking through. So there's some great things in here and good reminders. And like I say, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I would encourage you, when you have a chance, to read that through yourselves.
All right, 2-minute board policy and finance moment.
So I try to do one of these as a little bit of learning each month. They might take longer than 2 minutes, but something kind of quick. Number one, our policy specifically about, since we have a new board and we're going to ISB board convention this week and talk about in our policy, one of our goals is, it says, As a high-achieving school board, we work as a team to create high expectations for all students. Board learning is foundational to creating this solid governance structure focused on student learning for school boards. The board may participate in conferences sponsored by educational associations and agencies, in addition to its own in-service programs and work sessions, which we do from time to time. The next paragraph here, it says the board will work closely with the Iowa Association of School Boards and encourage board members to participate in qualifying learning opportunity to achieve the annual board award. So some of those different opportunities are things that we'll be able to take care of this week, and that we're talking to about when we're going to convention. I put a link to IASB's actual website here, and they talk about just kind of the annual board awards. That's just when individual board members get over 15 hours in a year, and then we have the majority of our board achieving that in addition to the superintendent. And that's just something, and it's a good recognition for our district statewide, and then within our own district as well, of just the commitment to the board and learning and working together. They describe that there. This is from, they didn't have an updated one labeled 2025, so I just included the one from 2 years ago. They had one last year, but I thought this was appropriate. If you change the dates, though, it's very similar, and it just talks about some ways to get some hours. So like it says up here, a minimum of 15 hours was required between November 1 and October 31 of the current year to achieve that. For attending convention and the parts that we're going to with the pre-convention and the day, we get 9 hours just for doing that, the board members that are able to come along. And if you go to the delegate assembly, there's an additional hour with that. If you would go to a Ready, Set, Govern, now our new board members are all able to come along this week, and I think that's great, so thank you for doing that. If you didn't go to that, but you went to one of the regional trainings, you get 3 hours for that. We won't be doing that because you'll go to the convention to do that. There's some other opportunities. Any of the at-the-table board discussion tools, we've done a few of those from time to time, or an hour. They have some different webinars that you can view, and when you do that, I can report that for you guys from an hour, and then there's some other different tools they have on there. Anytime we have Lou Ann come to lead a local custom workshop, we get an hour to 2 hours of credit for that, and we've done that the last handful of years. So these are the different ways. I know when I tell you to get 15 hours off the top of your head, you're going, oh, that's a lot in a year, but just by attending convention, we'll have 9 of those done just right there. So just bringing that up as a discussion piece and make you guys aware of that. I know our existing board had always valued that information, and just trying to point that out with our new board. So questions on that before I go any further in terms of board awards and continuing education? The other thing is I want to give a real basic school revenue finance 101 heading. I had done this a few years ago, and looking through, I think this is appropriate, especially maybe if you're not familiar with some terms. So just a real basic intro level reminder. So really, when sometimes there's misunderstanding in the discussions of that, how much revenue or how much the school is spending, but the fact comes down to, specific with general fund, we really don't have a lot of control on our revenue. It's completely formula/enrollment driven. We don't, as a board, to say, oh, let's not spend $6 million, let's spend $8 million. We'll take that in revenue. Really, that's, for the most part, almost the entire part of our revenue on any given year is enrollment and formula driven. And so if you think of it like a business, we don't really control our revenue. It's not like we can sell more product, right? Our product is educating our young people. So we get state money per student. That's why it's enrollment driven, and that's why when we talk about our certified enrollment each fall, that's so important. So one of the important pieces is this SCPP here. I highlighted it. So I know we have some new board members, and Jenny's not here, Jamie, but does anyone know what SCPP stands for? Or have a guess?
Standard cost per person.
Per pupil.
Per pupil part is right.
Student.
State cost?
State cost per pupil, yep, the state cost per pupil, okay? That is something that's set by the state. There's also, without going way in the weeds here, a district cost per pupil. There's a certain number of school districts that have a higher district cost than a state cost, and over time the state's trying to lessen that happening, okay? So it's state cost per pupil, Okay, so for this year, it's 7,988. Now, why that's confusing is in the math in a second, you'll see the math comes out to 7,983, but the state added $5 to everyone state cost-wise to try and lessen that disparity with those districts that have a higher district cost per pupil. The legislature has to intentionally do that. If you do the math, it only comes to 7,983, but actually our state cost per pupil is 7,988. That's called for cost per pupil equity. So when I'm speaking with these numbers here, you'll see why. So since we have very little control over that, I'll use some examples here using some made up and some real numbers. So imagine District A, we'll use simple math here, is 100 students for FY25. That's last year, because we're in FY26, okay? Last year, the state cost, that SCPP per pupil, was $7,826. So if you do the math, that's $782,600 our revenue for the general fund last year. Okay, trying to make simple math here. Okay, that same district now for the current year in FY26, we do the enrollment and we find out we have 90 students. So we're down 10. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, if you take those 90 students times that same cost from the year before, 7,826, that comes to 704,000. So that means we have $78,000, $78,260 in revenue, less revenue. Okay, that's not something that we can do or decide. That's formula and enrollment driven. That's not something we can control. Okay, in a year where maybe the state sets SSA, which is, does anyone know what SSA is?
Supplemental aid.
Yep.
State supplemental.
State supplemental aid. Some people will say student supplemental aid. What's the increase that student dollar amount goes up per year? That's the important way to remember it. So if the state set that at 2%, if you would do the math, 7,826 at 2% is $157. So we're going to get $157 more per student, but only for those 90 students, because that's all we have this year. Okay, so that 14,000, that's our new dollars. Okay, so if you add the two together, 7,826 and 157, that's where I get that 7,983. That's our state cost per pupil. Now, the slide before I explained it's confusing this year because they provided $5 more, but we'll just stick with that 7,983. You take that 7,983 times 90, and that's our revenue for the year, $718,470. That's less revenue than that district would have gotten the year before. Why? How can we get less revenue when the supplemental aid is up per student, right? The dollar amount per student is up. Well, it's because we have less students. Okay? So when you work that out, that's going to come to actually a decrease of 64,000, because we said based on last year's dollars, that was a decrease of 78,000, but we got 14,000 more in the cost per student. So this year we're actually down 64,000 in this scenario, not us, but in this scenario with these. So that's why that state funding, and when we talk in the spring, the SSA, even if you don't remember what it is, think of that, that's the amount that per student funding goes up per year. That's why that's so important. Imagine that SSA number was actually 5%, right? We would be down less dollars. I keep saying we, but this district would be down less dollars. And so that's why that's important, especially for districts who are maybe just staying even with their enrollment or going down. To decrease that impact, you need a higher SSA.
So SSA is school specific?
Yeah, no, statewide.
It's statewide.
Statewide. They'll set it each year. Yep, statewide. State supplemental aid, some will say student supplemental aid, but it's statewide, so whatever the legislature sets that out in the spring, they'll give us a percentage, and then they'll say it's set at 2%, 3%. And what that really means is you're taking the cost per pupil from the year before times 2%, and then adding it on, and then that's your new cost per pupil for the next fiscal year.
And we're going to be down 46 students.
So, yeah. So specifically for us, like this year, and remember enrollment is always a year behind. So yeah, our enrollment was down 40, I just rounded here, 47 students, right? This fall, but that's for next year's budget, okay? This year's budget, we're living in the world of last year's enrollment where we're up 20, okay? So looking to next year, I don't know what the state cost per pupil will be, so I'm just using this year's amount, right? We don't know. They could set it at 0% and have it the same. They could set it higher. But just doing the math right there, 47 students times that state cost per pupil, $7,983 in the general fund, that's $375,000 in change that we would have in less revenue next year. Not something that if someone came to you, hey, why'd you set the revenue $375,000 lower? You don't have control over that. I don't have control over that, right? That's completely formula driven.
I don't know if this is odd or not for that, but out of that 47 students, do we know, like, is that open enrolled students, or is that just students were down, moving?
Correct. Our open enrollment numbers were roughly the same, slightly different. It wasn't a big increase in terms of like open enrolled out or anything like that. That was just down overall. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch that. Jamie's there each month, and you can't say it was,
Yeah, we
fifth
looked at
grade.
every grade.
Yeah, it wasn't like, fifth grade we lost 30 of them because there's you can't even say that. It was pretty much equal throughout the grades and the buildings.
3 here, 3 here, 3 here.
Yeah. I think if I remember right, the numbers going from memory, we probably had a little higher loss at the and I'm not saying anything about that, at the elementary than we did the other two buildings. However, you go back the last 2 years.
High school is higher.
Yeah, the high school is higher and the elementary is actually up. I don't think that says anything about any building. I'm just saying that's what the numbers increased. The year before the elementary enrollment was up significantly, and then now this year it's down. Why? I don't think there's something to put on that.
Talk about the kindergarten thing too, that, do we have with the pre-K? Or
Yep.
Some of those kids didn't come into kindergarten.
Right, so that's one of it's confusing to count kind of kindergartners because we count them as students, but they could stay in kindergarten for 2 years, right? And this is the first year we're working, our TK is actually a full day, right? But if someone would go from preschool to kindergarten, like TK, we get a full student for that. And then if the next year they stay in kindergarten again, right? They're in kindergarten 2 years in a row. And so that's why sometimes people say compare your outgoing seniors to incoming kindergartners. There's some truth to that, but that's always not apples to apples either, because we don't know in a given year are any of those kids, maybe, some of those TK kids could go to kindergarten again next year, or they could move on to first grade. So that's kind of something hard to predict. This year we have 2 sections of what I'm going to call traditional kindergarten, and then 1 section of all-day transitional kindergarten.
As a district for that 46, 47, do we have any type of, do we reach out to them? Do we have exits? Do we talk and see why they're leaving, to where if we can make changes to,
No, go on, sorry to me.
So I just want to, is there any way to try to supplement that and reaching out to the families? And
we could, some of them will know, but some of them we might not even necessarily know until we get to the fall where they're gone or where they're at. So there's sometimes we'll know because we'll have records requests to go to. They move to a neighboring district, right? I'm not even anyone specific. I'm just saying family. If they up and moved and left, okay, and now they're living in what's a neighboring district, Sheldon or Hartley or something like that. Then we'll know that. But sometimes we don't know they're not coming back till the fall, and especially with a lower SES overall population and migrant, a much more migrant in terms of moving population, that sometimes those are things you just don't know till the fall. One of the things with this, I won't explain it tonight, but you're going to hear in the future, budget guarantee. Remember that for the future, but that's one of those things that it holds you harmless. There's something that's called for a year when your enrollment's down significantly for the next year, you'll have a regular program district cost that's calculated. And if your enrollment and your budget goes below that for the next year, you're guaranteed to get funding at that level. But that's only good for 1 year. So that's something we'll probably talk about in the spring. I'm not going to explain that tonight in terms, but I'm saying the word because we will be talking about that when we get to budget next spring, this winter, however you want to call that. So that's really a basic 101, but with some of the revenues and just trying to be real with our reality of where we're at.
Who sets that if you go back one slide there, like that's 7826, where does that number come from?
So that is the 7826, that's our yearly student cost per pupil for the past fiscal year, right? The current year. That's set by the legislature. And you can go back, because every year they take the prior year's student costs per pupil. They figure out SSA is 1%, 2%, 3%. They figure what that is and they add it on to make your state cost per pupil for the next year. So you're right, it rolls forward. So you can look. I don't have it up, but I have one history going back like 15 years, what the state cost per pupil was, what SSA is at 3%, and then you add them together to get the cost for the next year, and it just keeps moving forward. There's a few years where it jumps ahead, because every handful of years they do an adjustment to hold everyone equal, because if you go back 30 or 40 years ago, some districts had a higher district cost. So they've been working over time, it's called funding equity, to lessen that gap, because some districts had built into the formula a higher cost. So periodically they do this. They add $5 or $10. They don't do that every year, but they did do that for the current year, so that any district that's $5 or $10, any district that has a higher district cost per pupil doesn't get that $5. And so then if those that are at the base, when you get that additional funding, that decreases that gap, right?
And when you say districts, is that location or size?
Neither. It's based on funding in years. It could be a big district, it could be a small district, but they'll have a higher district cost per pupil.
And
based
how
on
do they
past.
figure that?
Historically, you could go back 20 years ago, something in the formula, and they just had something built in that their district cost was $15 higher per kid. And it stays that way until they do equity. So like if there's a handful of districts that were $5 higher, by doing this now, after this year, they won't be $5 higher anymore.
Okay.
They'll be at the state cost. We're at the minimum. We were higher, and I don't remember when that adjustment occurred, maybe about 8 years ago. We were about $5 or $10 higher. Then the state did that for equity purposes, and then that brought us in line with the state cost per pupil.
Gotcha.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes that cost can go up depending on the size of your district for added transportation costs and some of those kind of things, and how many students use the transportation and the effectiveness, well, not the effectiveness, but the efficacy of that transportation, how much it costs per pupil. Stan, would that be a fair, like just as one example?
Well,
or not?
But this would be really the revenue, they call it cost, but it's really the revenue you're getting
Okay.
per student.
Okay. Okay.
What someone spends could vary based on that.
Yeah, okay.
School finance is never easy, so. Other questions there? The next item, we're not going to decide this tonight, but being a new board, I want to put this out there, right? And you need to start thinking about is obviously with the PEPL not passing in November, we set that at to be renewed at the $1.34 rate. So the next time that can be brought up is March 2, 3, whatever that date is, the beginning of March. We will have to do, like we did for the last two, have a board agenda item and resolution to approve bringing that to be voted on in March and to set that rate. I'm putting this out there to start thinking that through in your minds. We're not, and even if we decided it tonight, we couldn't because we can't approve or set that. But being we have a new board, I intentionally added this on here. And then there's a window in which we'll have to have that board meeting. I think it occurs right after the December board meeting to the beginning of January. We'll have to have a meeting to decide what we're going to set that rate at. And then to officially approve having that on the ballot in March. So, I mean, we can debate what you want or ask questions on it, but there's nothing we can approve tonight. Does that make sense?
Yep. Something I might suggest is, I think this last time when you tried to get it approved, you had your meeting here at the school. I don't think you had a whole lot of turnout from the community.
Not
20.
Yeah, roughly.
Maybe potentially doing it outside of the school and doing it in each of the towns, like doing something at the Ocheyedan Town Hall, and just try to get try to see if people in each of the districts can't try to help push it to get people there
Yeah.
to try.
Yeah.
Because it is something that's gonna be very important, for the school district. I'm not gonna talk about numbers or anything, but I just think something maybe to get it out there for the community, and hopefully the community will maybe get behind it a little bit better if we have one in each spot, and maybe not do it at the school and try to promote it in a different way. It's
I
just a
think we can
suggestion.
explore all options at this point. Since it
Yep.
hasn't worked, I'm not
Yep.
opposed to anything. I think,
Yep.
yeah, got to be willing to do that, right?
Okay.
I already had, since the last meeting, Farm Bureau reach out, and I know I'm going to speak at a couple of their meetings. They asked me to come, so
Okay.
I didn't do that at a time last time. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think those are things that we have to explore.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
All right, we'll move on to new business.
So I asked to have some visitors here on the first two items. So we have Amos here with us. So I'll give a little spiel here and explain this, and then Amos will be here and you can direct some questions his way as transportation director. But he procured some new bids for our bus leases. We have some from Thomas and Bluebird included below, and I'll explain a little bit about that. We'd be looking at potentially 4 traditional buses and then one of the transit or the flat nose. They hold a few more on there. One of the things, as Amos pointed out to me, Bluebird, they quoted us 2 prices, but he said on the bigger bus, not all things are equal when you're comparing that to the bid from the Thomas. And Thomas is who we currently use. If you look here, this is for an 84 passenger at 178. Bluebird, their bigger bus, they quoted at 165. It's less dollar amounts, but it's not the same size bus.
Yeah, capacity is a bit smaller on that one. So,
Yeah.
what we're looking to do here is turn in our 5 lease buses this summer and get 5 new ones. We have a total of 10 school buses, 7 AM and PM routes. So, generally, the 2 best words here is lowest bidder, and Thomas has generally come in with the lowest bids on those. It makes it a lot easier for me to have one parts bin and one supplier and that kind of thing. So that's nice to do it that way. But with the warranty work and different stuff like that, it's easier for me to get stuff to Sioux Falls than it is to Waterloo, which is where Bluebird is. International, they don't really provide any sort of flat fronted transit style with front controls. Most of theirs is rear controls. So those always come in at like, $60,000 a piece higher. So I don't even really get quotes from them anymore. I don't have the code in front of me, but since we are leasing, we don't really need any competitive bids. If you're buying them outright, you would have to, I think it's 2 or so bids that you would actually have to have. So if you just use basic country math, cut the sticker in half, divide it by 3 years, and that's your monthly payment on a lease. So since I've been here, since Stan has been here, that's kind of been the way we've been doing business with half of the fleet. So there's pros and there's cons. If you buy them outright or if you lease them. I guess we just kind of ended up in a financial situation to where it was more relaxing on whatever account that it comes out of to pay a monthly payment versus writing a check. So if we decided to say we don't want to lease anymore, we would have to, come up with probably $800,000 to go buy 5 buses and then own them. So that's kind of how we do buses here. We try and keep them as long as we can before we have to, take them out of commission. And, that can be anything from corrosion to it's just a money pit. Basic rule of thumb, they last about 10 years. You can start rebuilding the motors and doing different things like that, but a lot of times they'll just come out of service by our state inspectors for other reasons. So you're kind of just stuck with the scrap on them, which is usually $1,000, $1,500, and we just usually run them to Clausen auction, and they kind of end up on the rake buy circuit or camping or something like that. So leasing is nice because you got the bulk of your fleet for your AM PM stuff to provide the daily riders with nice equipment and the daily AM PM drivers with newer stuff and creature comforts for driver retainability and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where we're at with buses. But yeah, I really have had good luck with the Thomas C2s and then the flat front transient styles. They've done the job for us here at Sibley Ocheyedan. And not that the other ones wouldn't, but when I got to drag something for warranty work to Waterloo and not really have the ability to come back, or do we stay overnight, or stuff like that, it gets to be really frustrating, especially if it's something that's out of service and now we're experiencing downtime and different things like that. So yeah, that's just kind of what Stan and I were talking about, and just kind of wanted to generally let you as the board know kind of what's going on with our buses. And if you guys have any questions that really doesn't pertain to leasing, I'd be happy to answer them or do the best I can. But that's kind of what we're in right now, is getting our new round of leases set up, hopefully to do all 5 in the summer, because that's ideal, you know, with all the stuff you have to do to get the bus ready to head out and hit the routes and that kind of stuff. So we've done them before in the school year, and it's a little hectic, but not impossible. So we're just trying to get our ducks in a row and make sure we're doing the right thing. Like I told Stan and Kendra, you know, compare notes with your counterparts in other districts. I know I sure do with other transportation guys, and most of them are pretty envious of the bulk of their fleet being leased equipment. So we do have that to kind of, you know, have a nicety, I guess, for the bus barn and the people out there. So
One of the things with that I wanted to point out, this is not like a Sibley Ocheyedan issue. This is all school districts, statewide issue, nationwide issue with the increased cost. When we're talking about PEPL, you know, I said moving forward, we're gonna have a bigger percentage of our save dollars used for bus leases and things like that. And number one, because we're gonna have less dollars coming in from enrollment, but just increased prices. So I just did our last 3 rounds of leasing prices. And this would be true of any company. I'm not throwing Thomas, and they've worked well with us, but just to show the rise in costs here. So this is for the 77 person, okay? In 2019, a 77 passenger bus, when we were quoting, it's the same quote, so you can see my papers here. I just printed this off from the old board meetings. The quote for a 77 passenger bus, the price here before lease was $99,000. In 2022, it was $124,000, and this year it's $142,000. So just sometimes I think people say, oh, they say rising prices, but they don't mean that. Like, no, literally, we're talking rising bus prices, right? For the 84, when we say transit 84, that's the flat nose bus that we have, right? The front end's flat, has more students. So in 2019, the quote for that same model bus, the 84 passenger bus, was $107,000. In 2022, it was $138,000, and now it's $178,000. Now, I'm not saying they're doing bad business. That's not my point. They would quote this out loud to anyone. I'm just simply stating it in terms of when we talk about we've talked about this extensively, Amos and I, just the increase in bus prices, and especially in the last 6-7 years. I mean, it's a real thing, right?
Who's going to be in the next 10?
Right, you tell me. I don't know. That I'm hoping at some point it caps out, but I haven't talked about it with the principals much, but I can't stop in today, and I mentioned that to him, and he's a math guy, and he goes, that's just not linear growth. He's like, that's exponential growth. And I'm like, I know. I know.
one thing that kind of made that price jump is when they mandated every bus coming into the state having seat belts. You know, that's like a $12,000 option, you know, so these are pretty bare bones spec buses that we get. I don't, you know, go as absolute cheap as I can. I like to spend quite a bit of money on the camera security stuff and, you know, that kind of thing. But if you start adding roof ACs and heated steps and that kind of stuff, you know, you can really make the price go up on them. So that's about as reasonable as we can get them, as, you know, right in that, whatever it was, 140 for the new C2s. And those were cheaper than the Bluebirds. But yeah, that transient one was a little bit cheaper. So, yeah.
So we have 5 leased ones and 5 that we own?
What we own, yeah. Ones that we kept back off lease or just kind of, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, one we might have acquired from someone else, or at the end of the lease in one of these rounds, we used the proceeds from the lease and then bought back one or two of them, and then kept it ourselves for the route. And then we have 3 extra just for a couple of reasons. Activities, there's some nights that 10 about doesn't serve us, you know, when you have like a football team going somewhere and a volleyball team or speech or whatever going somewhere. And then anytime that you have a bus down, we need something to fill in on the route. And then if you have a bus down and one of them is filling on the route and you already have an activity after school, so.
That's all I was wondering. Like,
No,
when they
I'm
come
just
off lease, don't
explaining, yep.
do you have an option to buy them to replace?
Yeah, we do.
Owned buses.
Correct, we would have that option.
Didn't we get a couple from MOC once?
Yep, we sure did. It was an older 99 47 passenger. That's still a really good bus. Before we got it, it went through Vanderhaeg's to get fenders and steps, which is a real pricey kind of deal. So that was, you don't have to worry about the corrosion piece. And then there was another 66 passenger that we got from them as well. So they're both serving us well. But just like any bus, they do require maintenance and, kind of turn into money pits. But it's just kind of, you got to play by the rules. And the good thing is, we get a semi-annual inspection to make sure they are safe, and it's not just me deeming safe or unsafe. There's actually a state trooper and an inspector that come and go through them and just make sure everything's up to snuff. And generally, they'll give me a little heads up, like, hey, this is the last time on those fenders, so get it squared away or knock it in the head, pick. So I have a pretty good working relationship with them to kind of get things sorted out, so it's not like, all of a sudden, so, but yeah, that's kind of the situation we are in, and that would be my recommendation, is just to go with the Thomas lease. But again, if somebody knows something I don't, I'd be happy to, learn more or understand how
we did get
other districts work it and that kind of thing.
We did get two. We got that when we were short and kind of in an emergency pinch, because we had the bus accident and one totaled. And then at the time, if I remember right, we had one in the shop, and all of a sudden we're down to just one spare bus for activity routes and the routes. So that was very gracious of them to work with us and sell them, because we needed that at that time. So it's worked out well.
So out of these 5 that we're looking to release and get new, do we have any option at buying any of those leases back, so we only have to lease 2 or 3, and we?
You sure can. Yep. They wouldn't mind at all if we bought some back. You definitely can. And you're stuck with about half of the sticker on them. So if we wanted to do that, we could. Just kind of depends on where you guys are comfortable on the numbers. And
what would I don't know what the buyback would be on one of those leases.
Half of the sticker. So they were
like
120. Yeah, so it'd be about 60-ish. Country math.
Yeah.
I don't do math in public, so.
And that's and if we end up doing that, we don't have to approve that tonight. Mainly, we move forward with this, and then when we get to that point, we can decide if we're going 5 leases, if we're going to buy any back, and so forth. Would that be fair to say, Amos?
Yeah, we absolutely can.
Yeah, it doesn't tie us to whether we're leasing them right now, but it does in terms of moving forward and giving them an idea.
Yeah, if you're on the lease, you could buy all 5 of them back, or let them all go. Pick the one you like, the one that didn't cause you no trouble. And if one was really bad, you make sure that one goes down the road and that kind of thing. So,
and we've had these for 3 years.
The current lease round is up this summer.
But it was 3 years ago you did it.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah, sorry, I got your question.
So
Yes.
every 3 years.
Yeah, you can stretch them out to 5, and I don't know if they go any longer than 5, but we just traditionally gone with the 3-year leases.
And we bought some of them in the past to replace some of the older buses. You know what I mean? Some of the older buses. We've paid off the lease and then got 5 new leased, but we've paid that off to replace maybe an older one in the fleet that.
Yeah, we had some
gonna
older
pass.
diesels that we got some what they call DEER credit, the diesel emission reduction. I can't remember the rest of it, but basically we got 20 grand towards the purchase of a bus that qualifies to be more environmentally friendly and clean and that kind of stuff. So that was a nice shot in the arm that we didn't have to use the 20 grand on a brand new one. We could just apply it to one of, exactly. So, and I haven't heard of any of those incentives going around. I don't know if your inbox has,
I haven't seen it.
It seems like that kind
recently.
of dried up, and you had to have some pretty old equipment, to do it. But it's well worth it, I think. You know, if you can, you know, take a $60,000 bus and get 20, you know, that's pretty decent, or it's worth going through the paperwork anyway. So I'm usually keeping my ear to the ground on that, but I haven't heard of anything with that lately. So I do get a lot of questions just from kind of the general public on electric and natural gas and different stuff like that, and I don't think we're anywhere near being ready to test those waters. I don't think it makes sense financially, and just from a practical, from a small, medium-sized fleet, me being one deep, I just don't think we're ready to start exploring that. I would much rather let some of these other districts give us, you know, their 5-7 year kind of, here's what we experienced, here's what we liked, here's what we didn't like. It'd be a little tough to go down those alternative fuel kind of routes. They do kind of look good on paper in a 72-degree room. It looks enticing, but in the real world, when it's 0 dark 30 and whatever below 0, I don't know that it would bode well for a lot of the practical applications that we run into. So I'm always happy to talk about them and, you know, kind of explain what I've experienced and heard from the dealers and the trade shows and that kind of stuff. But again, I just don't know that it's very cost effective this early in the game with alternative fuels.
So tonight, are we looking to, like, do we have to have an answer for which way we're going? Was this just you bringing it to us so we can start thinking about it for?
Exactly, just
okay.
Awareness, socializing it, I guess, in a little bit more
yeah. Because I'd like
form.
to kind of table this until after.
So we're not approving. Yep. We're not approving whether we're going to lease all 5, or whether we're going to lease 3 and buy back 2, or anything like that.
We're just approving.
But we're approving. What we're approving is on these quotes and moving forward, and then we can socialize in the spring with Thomas. I was going to say Bluebird. Thomas on what we want to do in terms of leasing and buying. We can make that choice moving forward. Would that be a fair way to put it, Amos?
Yeah, you kind of want to overestimate on these leases. It's better to, you know, say, hey, something happened and we can't take all 5. We can only take 1. Versus we didn't ask for any and now it's the middle of June. Can you find me a bus? That probably the answer is probably no. So it's good just to let them know, hey, here's what we need. So this is kind of the sweet spot to start, you know, letting them know what our intentions are with these lease buses. So
does that kind of answer what you're getting at?
Yeah, because like I said, with the grant coming up and everything, I mean, we're gonna, the I don't know is out there.
Correct. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know as far as
what finances.
Right. Okay.
So
We're still going to need buses. So.
well, correct, but like we're going to lease. Can you buy
And
back
like
2
safe
leases?
buses for all the girls.
Yeah. Can you buy back 2 of them? Would that be more cost
Right,
effective?
yeah.
Right.
And
well, what he's getting at, I think to answer, yes, I think we can do that. But if we just tell him, I think we're looking at only leasing 2, and then we decide we need 4, they might not have 4 available. Type situation, right?
And we're not
generally
obligated
speaking,
if we say we couldn't take
Yeah.
those. They're fine with that because they'll get rid of
Somebody
them.
else that'll take
Right, exactly. So it's better to say we'll take 10 and only take 2 than say
we want 2.
we need 7. Where are they at? It's June. Sorry,
Right.
buddy.
Okay. I gotcha.
That's kind of how when there's only three vendors that kind of supply buses.
And out of the 5 that we currently bought back off lease, all them good running, like.
The 5 leases that we have now.
Well, no, like the 5.
the usual
Oh, the 5 that we.
Or the
that we
3,
own.
I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
whatever.
No. Yeah. Model citizens as far as buses are concerned. So, and there generally is a turning point, probably in like 3-4 years for those that it's just like this is not. You know, when they spend more time in the shop, or you know, they keep getting write up after write up after write up. But,
Well, like for a district, we also have to look at like if they're raising it $30,000 every year.
right. Yeah.
Like in 3, is it better to potentially get 3 of them now, to where our cost in 3 years, we don't have to lease as many. So when that cost jumps up to $200,000, we only have to lease a couple at that point, as opposed to having to lease all 5.
Yeah. You're still kind of on that same, 10-year clock. I think we do a little better up here in Northwest Iowa with taking care of our equipment. But having that said, these buses were never meant to go down the roads that we go down. They were meant to be in Springfield, Missouri, or, somewhere a little more normal, because that's where the bulk of their business is. So, we put them through the paces. And I think that's part of the reason I like the Thomas Freightliner chassis is just, you know, Freightliner's been in the industry for so long. I think they have a pretty good grip on how to build stuff, you know, to kind of withstand some of that. And then the reason I like the diesel is just the low end torque. So when we got to punch holes in drifts, we got something that can do it. And that was a huge drawback on the gas buses way back then. They couldn't handle a lot of that kind of thing. So you got stuck a lot more back then. So that's kind of why I've stuck with the diesels and the Freightliner chassis that Thomas puts their bus body on. So it just seems to be a pretty good match. So.
So it said there's 4 traditional and 1 transit. That's what you're replacing those today with?
Well, right now we got three conventionals and then 2 flat nose. I think we can, you know, with the flat transient style ones going up, I think we can just go with 4 conventional and then just 1 of the transient style. So just to kind of save a few bucks, you know. There's a few routes that absolutely have to have, you know, the bigger capacity with the 84 passenger. Mine being one of them. I just have a ton of town kids and then just more route kids in general. They spec these buses for, you know, 3 to a seat, and they don't take into consideration band instruments, snow clothing, and different things like this. So realistically, cut that number in half, and that's about how many kids you can actually put on a seatbelt bus with, you know, band instruments and all the extra, you know, snow clothes that they carry with the excess baggage or whatever, and that kind of thing. So, but some of our routes that don't have town stops can get away without having, you know, the bigger buses. But the 77 passengers kind of seem to be really the sweet spot that you can use for anything. And if you want to buy them back for an activity bus, they generally work really good for that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is approving moving forward and talking with Thomas about leasing 5. But why we're doing that is what Amos just said. It's better to ask for more, and then we can say we really only need 3. Because if we say, I think we're going to go with 3, and then all of a sudden we realize we need 5, we're probably not going to be able to have that order fulfilled. Does that make sense?
And there's no penalty or punishment. Now, if I said, like, I need 100, they'd probably not, you know, entertain that.
Enrollment's
but-
going up.
Yeah.
Enrollment's going up.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Amos.
any other questions? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So, yeah, really, if
We
we're
have to have a
looking at
motion.
it, yeah,
Okay.
we would need the motion to approve the bid from
Whichever one.
Thomas as presented.
I make a motion accept the bid that Thomas presented.
All right, there's a second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the bus lease as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Consider approval of a skid loader purchase.
So I have Greg here, asked Greg, our Director of Maintenance, to come talk about this, and he really did the work to get these bids together, and I tried to put them all on here to make sense. We have some from C&B for skid loader, and then A&E equipment on north of town there. So the history on this is we've had a skid loader for years. Originally, the program is we had to sign that up, and we really had no cost for leasing those. And then most recently, the cost was, I had this in mind, and now I forgot the number. Was it $1,500? $1,500 to lease it basically for a year. It was a 10-month lease that they'd allow the schools to use the skid loader for, a used one. That program has since ended, so we're not able to do it at that cost. So like when we were talking budgets, or even going back 3 months ago, this wasn't really something on our radar that we're going to need to buy a skid loader. And it's worked out great for us, but unfortunately that program's no longer available, and we really do need that. So that's the reason we're presenting this now. And I will pull up the bids here. Greg has done a job here of getting these together. This is used ones with various hours on them. Some Bobcats from Ashman. This is the quote for the one that we currently have at school, what that would cost us to buy it, buy that with, and then they would get a bucket for that with us. And then here's some ones, and I'll go through them in a second, for some other various size and hours and used models from C&B that are different from the one that we currently have. And then this is specking out some brand new ones. So Greg, anything you wanted to add?
Like you said, it's kind of uncharted territory. The lease cost, I really didn't even entertain that. It was a significant rise. I don't remember the dollar amount. As you said, it's something we need, maybe not a lot. Wintertime, we'll need it a little bit more, even though we don't do the parking lot and the snow removal on the sidewalks. There's areas that we need to clear for various reasons in front of doors for deliveries. The deliveries is probably the biggest thing, summer and winter and all year round. We don't have much of a heads up, a way to get anything here in order to unload it. So that's probably the biggest need is for truck shipments, and then some snow removal in the winter. I guess, we quoted out the new ones. The attractive portion of the new ones is the discount, government entity discount for, I don't know that number off the top of my head, but it's 0%. You can stretch out over 5 years. The used ones, cheaper cost, a few hours. I think that serves our purpose well. There is payment plans available, but there is an interest rate. As far as the one we got, that is a 332 John Deere. And it's one of the bigger ones, which I kind of like, just to do the simple fact that if we're loading, unloading, I have unloaded 2,000 plus pounds, various items. The smaller ones, like the 324, I believe is rated for the 2,000, 2,200 pounds, but you can feel it a little bit when you're coming off the truck. I like the bigger one just because it's stable and you know what you got. You can pick it up and go. As Dan said, right now we do not have a bucket that was sold. Our lease kind of expired and they were allowing us to use it. So we have the set of pallet forks here that we own, and so we get the bucket with any one of them. Some of them may be a contractor bucket. I believe the one that will be coming for this 332 is a 84-inch. That has benefits. So yeah, I guess I don't really have a lot of information for it, just because, like I say, this is all new. I've never had to deal with this. It was always just been here.
And this is the one that we've leased since it was brand new?
This one, it was kind of a swap out deal.
Okay.
We might have a brand new 324, and then a year later, that one is sold, so they'll bring in another 324, but it might have 300 hours on it.
Okay.
You just never knew for sure what you were getting to the program that they had. They would provide it for us, basically no cost.
Gotcha.
But you never knew exactly what it was going to be and how long you were going to have it.
So you didn't necessarily have a lease for a full, or that machine lease for the year. They could sell it, they could bring it in.
Yep.
One. You had a lease for a machine, not.
They always
a
provided us with
specific machine.
one.
Correct.
Every time they would sell one, they would always provide us with one.
Yep.
Same day, they'd drop one off and take that one back, but that was never an issue. But like in this situation, the bucket that we had on that 332 was sold, like I say, and was sold approximately 4 months ago, and we haven't had a bucket with it since. Vital, not all the time, but we're getting to the point in time where it will become vital.
And so the other ones that are priced out come with a bucket. This is the current one. If we'd end up buying this one, we would get a bucket with that. The other ones come
Caleb out at
with one.
CMB said he had a bucket on the lot that he would dedicate to this machine.
So no additional cost.
No additional cost would come with it. Yep. I have no complaints about the one we currently have. You can take a look at the Bobcats. They're good machines. Just all of this based on hours, and your price is based on how many hours it has, basically. I will say the one at Matt Ashman might not necessarily be the exact one that he quoted here. His turnover, he said, is frequent enough, but he will have something very comparable. Might not be the exact price tag, but it will be right there.
And
far
do we
as
only
rec-
look at the two companies?
Pardon?
Do we only look at the two companies?
They're the only ones that were here that I was aware of. I didn't even realize that Matt Ashman equipment was out there. In the discussion with Stan, it was brought to my attention. So that's why I went out there. Otherwise, it's always been with C&B. So that's where I started.
Because I'm wondering if Shelton Implement might have something comparable or comparable, or can't even think of the place in Worthington off the top of my head. Jaycox. Titan now.
The only thing I will say about that is repair-wise, if there's anything that has to go into the shop, you're looking at further have it hauled. You know, I don't know if they charge based on mileage. You know, we got both of these entities within a couple miles of the facility.
Yeah, I didn't go from them. We just went with two locally, and we can get some from some other
Like more,
entities as well,
certainly
but
can.
just when they were local, that's kind of where we started at to get quotes, so not that we couldn't do more.
Did they, like it's 22, they say anything about warranty at all?
Did not say anything about warranty on the used equipment. I can investigate that further too if you would like more information. Current one we could bring in, they would go through it, service, check things over.
Yep.
Just to make sure it was up to par. One thing I would like to do, no matter what we get, is to get the less aggressive tires on it when we go on the grass, just to help avoid potentially turf tires. But if not, at least less aggressive, so we don't have to worry about tearing the grass up near as much.
School have a forklift at all?
No.
No.
This. Yeah, that's what I mean.
How many
In
hours a
essence.
year do you usually put on a machine?
Oh, it's hard to guess. I mean, it could be 50, 60, it could be 100. Just depends on trucks in the summer. You know, different things that are coming in, shipments throughout the year. Like I say, I use it on some snow removal, especially around the gates at the track, just to try to clear them out in the spring, especially. There's a lot of variables. I would say 75 to 100 hours, just guessing.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say, this in essence is our forklift. For the most part, when we need fork work or to unload trucks for a variety of reasons, this is what we use.
You said the lease, like their lease options were so astronomical, you didn't.
It was a huge jump.
Yeah.
I don't remember the dollar figure. Do you remember that, Sam?
I don't off the top of my head, but when
It was, when you go from...
when we hadn't been, well, we hadn't full, I mean, we were leasing, but it was under a different program, right? So it's not
Right.
even apples to apples. It was high enough, I said, it's, for the amount of time when we're looking at it, I said, let's get some quotes to buy one, because we only got it on this one, and it was significantly higher. I don't remember off the top of my head what they said, but it was spendy, so.
Basically, the change of ownership at C&B, they pretty well did away with the government lease programs. It's my understanding, I've talked to a few people, a lot of the government entities, schools, cities, anything like that are going away from the lease, and a lot of people are buying them. Just because of the cost. It could come back around again someday, but I don't know when that day would be.
So your first preference would be to buy the current one that we currently have?
Well, it's the one we have on site. I have no complaints about it. Like I say, it's probably the bigger unit out of all of them that have been quoted. I believe the new ones that were quoted were all 324s with a contractor bucket. This one is 332 with an 84-inch bucket.
This is a 324. Yeah.
I like the size of this one personally, like I say, just because I know it's gonna handle whatever I throw at it.
But this one has the right tires, or
No.
needs
I would
different
have
tires?
to have them switched out, or if that's something that is too expensive to do, we'll just be careful. I don't think they would buck me too hard on that. You know, I
To
did
swap
speak
them
to
out.
I did speak
Yeah.
to them about it, so I don't think they would fight me on that. I think I could get that, you know, brought out, service, gone through, tires switched out. There might be a little cost to it, but I wouldn't think it would be significant. But again, if you want more information, if this is something you want me to pursue, I can ask all those questions and get that information.
Other questions I can answer for you guys as a board?
I think warranty's a big one. If any of them offer any type of warranty where it keeps our costs down, that'd be huge, I think. But
There may be potential to buy some kind of a warranty, I guess, but on a 3-4-year-old unit, I don't know how much warranty you're gonna see.
Is there anything else we can answer for any of you guys on this? Right
When's
now, since we have the expert here.
When's the current lease up?
Well, the current lease is up.
It is up. They
That
just
is-
left it here.
They've just left it here
Yeah.
and let us use it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're past the end of the lease, but they've been.
We'll just see if they forget about it.
I've tried that.
Yeah.
They never do.
And somebody from John Deere came and picked it up.
So the way to get a warranty then would be buy this new
I
one.
can't swear to that. You know, I don't
On a
know
new
that.
one though, they'd have
On a
price.
new one,
so-
they would have, I'm sure, have warranty.
But then this is a smaller one that's on this
Right.
bid, right?
Yeah, you're talking this one, right? 324 and yeah, they're both 324s. Yep. They're a smaller capacity and size. Yep.
As I said before, the nice thing about the new ones is the 0% interest. Only on the new ones can we get that, and that's because we're the government entity. That he did say he can only guarantee, I believe, until through the end of December. He wasn't sure if the program would stay around after that point.
so what would, on the new one, what would we need down and what would our payments be at 0%?
I'm looking here. I don't know if they put that on here because I didn't call and ask them that. So when he was referring to earlier the school discount, government discount, that's what he's talking with the list price down to the new one costing 62 grand. See what I'm talking right here? I think the other one's the same, isn't it? This one's a little bit higher. List priced of 90, and then our with the discount, our price would be 66. These are on the two new ones. Excuse me. So, Greg, do you kind of have a preference, at least from you, since you're the one that's going to be driving at 90%
Well, as I say,
of the time?
As I say, the one we have currently, I like that one, just because of the size of it, and been using it for about a year now. I'm kind of used to it. But whatever direction you want to go, I guess like I say, I'm pleased with this one.
And the payments, this is a 5-year loan?
Yes, I believe that's right. There is a interest rate attached to that one.
And that would be if we went the loan payment, well, or even if we used, but even if we went the payment route versus purchasing it outright up front.
I don't even know the rules on borrowing on things that we've never done that.
Right, we have not partaken in that before.
Paying interest on, I don't know.
Yeah.
a payment plan
This
before.
would come out of what?
This would be like
I was waiting for someone to, I was waiting for someone to ask that. I was trying not to. What'd you say, Jamie?
I said, so I suppose this comes out of PEPAL funds?
This would be one of the acceptable or approved uses of PEPAL, yes. Is it something probably when I was planning potential, I mean, I didn't even list it on the forum going into that because we weren't talking about, I mean, we had an idea, but a month before that we didn't. We weren't really going into as they were talking about ending this. This is something for sure. Back in the summer or spring, we weren't talking about not realizing that they were going to really end the program of the way that we've been using a skid loader / forklift. That's kind of our use for it as well for the last how many years. I don't know how far it goes back. So that's just what we've always done, at least since I've been here. We didn't realize they were going to end that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So say, hey, why didn't we think of it last spring? It wasn't on our radar at all, to be honest. So yes, we would pay for that out of PEPAL.
We'll have a meeting before, we'll have one in December yet.
Yes. Yeah. Board meeting you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there questions you would like me to get answered? Any further information that you would want?
Well, I guess just, the lease was 1,500 for 10-month lease.
I believe that was actually 5 or 6 month.
5 or 6.
Is that what was that what the last one
That was
was?
a short one, just to finish out through this past summer. May or June, I can't remember the date for sure.
Yeah, I guess just what the actual lease is on a new one, right? I get it's significantly higher, but I guess what that is, and warranty might not be available here, but like Cenex has some warranties just on motors, right? That you can send in an oil sample, you can pay warranty on it. That, I mean, unfortunately, like you don't use it a lot, and sometimes that's not the best for them either, right? So
Yes.
blow a motor up and 20 grand, right? So if there's an option to get some warranty on it, or at least have that part covered, might be something to take a look at.
Take a look into that.
Yeah.
Who'd you say through, Arthur?
Like Cenex offers it. So
Oh, okay.
It's a new enough machine, which this thing's only 3 years old. Might be some possibilities there. So like Cooperative Energy would be able to work with you on that.
Maybe
The
answer
diesel
some
shop.
of the questions.
Yep.
Or just talk to them. Good.
Do you kind of spare this down if we kind of maybe, I'm just throwing this out there, focus on this one and a new one comparatively for the next meeting? Like what the lease cost would be
I was gonna say,
on a
like,
new one?
I mean,
To shorten down our options. I mean, we were just trying to go through a variety to get here, but right?
and if a new one had a warranty, would that like justify the difference in price between what we would pay for a new one and what we could potentially have to do for upkeep on a used?
Okay.
So look into the 332G and a new 324G. Okay.
And why I guess you like the size of 330. Why did they quote just a 324 instead of a 332?
That's just kind of what I guess they figured I needed.
Oh, okay.
I told them, I need at least 2,000 pound lift capacity, so they quoted
Okay.
the new one. Because if you start getting into the 330 or 332, your price is going to jump significantly on the new ones.
Yep.
And I can appreciate that.
Yep.
It's not a necessary thing. It's kind of my preference.
So if we get the answers to that, the cost of the lease cost of a new one from C&B, what that monthly lease cost is, or what they'll at least quote us on that for the next one, and then possibilities if we can get some warranty options through Cenex on the used one here.
And maybe John Deere will do it too, if you want to ask.
Yep, check with them, absolutely.
Or C&B, yeah. Get those things and maybe get that information for the December meeting. That work? Yeah, it's unless, because we meet on the, today's the 17th, we meet on the 15th of December, if I remember right.
Good. Any other question I can try to answer? All right.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks,
Yeah.
Greg.
So we just won't take any action on that item?
Yeah.
I think we'll motion to table that one.
Yeah.
Till next
Okay.
meeting.
Mhm.
So I'll motion to table it till the next meeting.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and table the approval of the skid loader purchase till next December's board meeting. All right.
We got to vote.
Oh, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes.
So the next few, the special ed service plan is something from our trainings. Basically, we need one of these for our state reporting. And then in working through that with some trainings last week, they said, generally speaking, because I couldn't find one from the last handful of years that had been approved, but they said generally they're approved at least every 5 years. I didn't see one. We took this from an old one and then worked with the AAA on this to present this. We need approval on this, and then we can kind of finalize some of our state reporting requirements. Really, there's nothing groundbreaking or anything in here that we're not already doing. It's just describing and putting some of the plan pieces that we already have in place on paper here, and just getting it officially approved by the board. There's nothing that really would change in terms of what we're already doing as a result of this, in terms of, other than just having an official plan, if that makes sense.
So this is to approve the plan to.
Yeah, approve it,
To get
just-
it approved by the state?
Yep, it has to be board approved. Our plan, and like I said, it literally, you're not approving anything that we're not already doing or changing. We're not asking for that. It's just literally putting the plan. We haven't had one approved by the board. I think what I would do moving forward is move this up in years to come and put that in our September meeting when we approve some of our other plans annually, like our
Okay.
LAU plan and our at-risk and things like that. I would
That's
just do that
something you
moving
do
forward.
yearly, right?
We will moving forward, so
Yeah,
then we don't
okay.
have to scramble to find this, so.
All right, any other questions?
So you need a motion to approve.
Yep, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the special education service plan.
Second, all right, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the 2025-2026 Special Education Service Plan. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Approval of new contracts, Jacob Horseman as volunteer wrestling coach as needed in different capacities between junior high school, and those programs, and then Bill Hartzell as head high school boys varsity basketball coach. Both are at-will contracts.
All right.
And Jacob's volunteered, he volunteered for the middle school football too, right? Or was he a coach?
He was a paid coach.
He was a paid coach,
Okay,
that's the
but
only
he's
reason I
been
paused.
like he's coached. in
Yes, he's
the-
coached here before, correct. Yes, he was in a paid position. That's why I was pausing to think. But yes, you're thinking of the right. He helped with the
Okay.
junior high football program. We just don't have contractual positions, but he would like to help out. And we approve our volunteer, or we're required to approve volunteer coaches.
All right, any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the new contracts.
All right.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the new contracts as presented. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
So the following changes, usually we approve changes to our student handbooks annually. I did have all three buildings, elementary, middle school, high school, add this. We had to do this in part of our state reporting, and we did not specifically have this heading and phrase in our handbooks, even though we have the appropriate policies, but linking to them. So all 3 handbooks have this policy listed in them. It just says progressive student discipline policy. Iowa code requires districts to have a progressive student discipline policy. Please see the board policies related to this requirement. We have the board policies in place, not changing, it's not changing anything we're doing, but in terms of requirement, we had to have that added to all 3 handbooks. And literally, that's the only change in that policy is added to all 3 handbooks. So we're just formally approving that tonight.
No motion to approve the changes in the handbook.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the student handbook changes in all 3 buildings. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Northwest AEA Board of Directors, Amy Jerns is up and running to retain her positions, and she's the only one that is running for that spot. The districts, and this is the letter that we get on that the Jamie was signed, the districts are required to vote and approve that at a board meeting. I'd say we could go through and choose the candidate, but there's no other candidate. She's the only one running to represent our area on the Northwest AEA Board.
Where's she based out of?
George.
Yeah, I think she lives in George. I'd say she's out of
She on the
Mars
school board
district.
on George? Yeah.
She was. I'm not 100% confident if she still is. I think she was at one point, right? I'm not saying she's not. I just
don't know.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know either. She does a good job, though.
Mm-hmm.
I was just making sure it wasn't like somebody from Des Moines. It's our representative for Northwest.
No, yeah, she's from around here.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion? And if there is, I need to read the bottom sentence.
Make the motion for the board of directors vote.
You gotta read that.
Gotta read.
If you can see it from there.
I make a motion that Sibley Cheatham School District votes for Amy Jerns as Director of District 1 in Northwest, or NWAEA.
There you go. All right, is there a second?
One second.
All right, so it's moved and seconded to have Amy Jerns represent us in District 1, Northwest Iowa AEA. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes.
All right, so the next one, since we have a new board, given a little bit explanation, the way our policy reads and retirement package reads is that something that we would have to approve in the years that we choose to offer this. I did present this and discuss this with our finance committee back in October, and presenting this here and choosing whether we would offer early retirement package this year. Those that would elect to take that, if we would approve this, those that would elect to take that would have to do so by Friday, January 9th. That's how the policies will read. So what we're approving in this one is whether we're going to offer that or not. If we would vote to approve this, then the next one we have to approve the changes to the policy to update them for the current year. Obviously, if we chose to not do this, then the next agenda item is moot, right? How this works, why would we do this right now with our position and declining enrollment, and what we've talked about in the last few years, making adjustments to our staff, but what we call bloodless attrition, right? Not having to make cuts, but do it when they naturally happen. So obviously, depending on who would take this, that doesn't mean, that's one of the options, doesn't mean we would necessarily have to fill all those positions, right? We would make adjustments with that over time to account for the budget reduction that's going to happen and over the next few years. So that's one of the reasons that you're doing this. How that works is the dollars that come from the early retirement package then are paid for out of what's called our management fund, okay, which is a separate fund from the general fund, and that's where you get your savings. That's one of the things that we do have a little control of with our levy. What we pay for out of management is you can pay for any early retirement packages. We pay for our insurance in terms of like our building and property insurance we pay for out of that. All other forms of insurance for the most part out of that, and then any potential legal settlements out of that, and then we also pay for our breakdown insurance out of management. So what this does for someone in our situation, if someone takes early retirement, we pay for that out of management, and then that's not a general fund expense, for lack of a better word there. And then depending on how many or if many staff take that, then that's where administratively we make choices of, I'm just making up numbers here. These 3 people turned in early retirement, and based on where they're at, maybe we only need to fill 2 of the positions. Or these 4 took it, we need to fill 2. That's in our situation why what you're looking at doing is to do some savings down the road.
Do we know how many teachers are up that can do early retirement this year?
That are potential, that would be potentially eligible. In terms of how the policy reads, they have to be a minimum age over 55, whether they're taking IPERS or not, but they have to be over 55 and have worked here 10 years. And yeah, I can't name individual names off the top for reasons until they submit it, but we could have up to 4 staff members that are eligible. Did I say that correctly, Kendra? When we went through the other day?
They've been here over 10 years and are over 55.
Yeah, and have enough time in. If I remember right, we'd have 4 that could take it. I
don't know if they would or not.
Correct. And I don't know that for some of them. You got to remember they might be eligible for early retirement, but maybe they're not
ready.
IPERS personally ready or IPERS ready, right? And I'm talking teaching staff members.
Yep.
Because there's a separate policy for support staff that if they qualify, which is a little bit different, but. No, good questions. That's why I've kind of taken the time to explain this.
The finance part, like, you offer it, or like, you're looking for all 4 to take it, or it'd be ideal if only 2 took it, or?
Do we have the flexibility in that other account for all 4 to take it if they decided?
We would, and then how you can control that, and then maybe if, I'm just throwing this out, I'm not even hinting anything, if all 4 took, then we would have the option maybe to wait a few years before we offer it again, or look at where we're at financially. If none took it, that could happen, right?
Yep.
If none took it, then you're having some advantages in the short terms of not adding expense to management, and maybe you look at offering it in the near future.
So
or
this is
if one
something
took
every
it.
year we have to decide to either approve or disapprove.
Correct. Usually it's only brought up if I think it's worth bringing it up, and then I usually bring it up to the finance committee first, their recommendation, and then present it to the board.
Yeah, it's typically been what a every other year type thing, or
So the
skip a couple
finance committee
years,
is recommending we.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have glossed that over at the beginning. I didn't mean to. I said I presented it to them in October. When I came here as principal, I can't remember what the first year they offered it, but I think there was a streak there of like, don't quote me, I'm just ballparking this, like 7 or 8 straight years where they didn't offer it for a variety of reasons. Didn't need to. Financially, maybe didn't make sense. I'm not speaking for the past board, just saying that. So it's not necessarily something that's slam dunk offered every
But
year.
the financial committee says this makes sense this year to do it.
Correct, yeah. I presented to them as the recommendation. And the reason being, it wouldn't just do it to offer it. We'd look at, then depending on who takes that, could there be some staffing reductions from that? I can't predict who will, but then we could potentially, that's the benefit to the district in terms of a budget when connecting earlier, we're going to be down 47 students long-term, right? And trying to make those choices now so we don't have to make have-to choices later in terms of we're in a situation and now we have to get reduced staff and we have people who we're getting rid of who want to stay, right? That's what you're trying to avoid down the road.
Mm-hmm.
No, good questions.
We're probably the most question asked board ever.
Other questions?
So as far as like the staff that has been here for years.
Mhm.
If we did need to fill those positions, I mean, are we looking at maybe someone fresh coming in that would possibly be getting paid less than someone that's been here long term?
That's the other idea in theory, right? Would be if you have someone retire and that's a position we need to fill, then you fulfill that with someone younger with less cost. In today's age, that's easier said than done because there's just less applicants out there, less people going into the profession, and it's really coming a thing of you see what kind of applications you get and pick the best one.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't guarantee that would be someone right out of college. It could be, it might not be. There's just not the applications, not just at Sibley Ocheyedan, I just mean overall just for teaching positions like there were even 10 years ago. That'd be fair to say for both of you who deal with that a lot more than I do,
Incredibly fair.
right?
Yep.
But yes, that would be, I mean, if they took that and we decide, oh, that's a position we still need to fill or whatever, then that is also ideally usually people who are retiring and have been here long enough will have a higher salary than a new teacher, so you have some general fund savings that way. Other questions?
What is the early retirement package?
So this is the change from the other one, just updating the dates and things like that. That's the big change that it goes through, but what you'll really look at is here. So they have a couple options on what we have, depending on what their situation is, A through E. They get paid out, depending on which option they take out, they'll get paid out more or less per year. So someone in option A needs insurance for a shorter length of time than someone in option E. That's the easiest way to explain the chart. They get paid out of any unused sick leave. So someone in option A is able to take up to 3 years of single insurance premium, up to $775 a month. If during that 3 years the premium goes beyond that, then they pay the difference. So let's say in year 2, I'm just making up a number, our single insurance goes from $770 to $800, they'd have to pay that $25, right?
Gotcha. Yep.
Going down to option D, they're getting less dollars for each year of service because they're getting paid out more for a longer length of time, more years for insurance. This would be up to 6 years. So the longer you take, the greater chance that obviously the premiums will go up, and at the end of the policy, they'll pay some. So that's kind of the like overall
How long do we pay that?
summary of that. Which one, Tom?
So like it's 3 years or 6, like that's how long we pay them?
For the insurance portion, right?
How long will we pay the monetary bonus?
It's just a one-time.
Just a one-time.
It goes
It's just a
into
one-time payment?
Correct.
Yeah, so their years of
Okay.
service, so they were here, 20 years times the 850 if they take option A. That goes into a 403B.
Okay. So it goes into a...
Yes, yeah, the monetary bonus is not reoccurring.
Okay.
It's one time, along with the
Okay.
sick leave. I think that's the highlight of that. And then the other policies were, yeah, it's just forms that they sign and agree to that.
Okay.
When I'm putting that in here, the changes, the policy for classified staff, where is that chart? Right here, is a,
It's a $4,000.
yeah, there we go, this paragraph right here. It's a one-time payout of $4,000, and then they have to have completed 20 years of service and be eligible. That kind of answer what you were asking?
I know you've had that for quite a while, right?
Yes.
There's been different variations, I think, of this.
Generally, at least since I've been in the seat when we've offered it, the only changes has been the insurance portion, like the yearly amount. You know what I mean? Because
It goes up.
it goes up, right? But in terms of like the monetary bonus in column to their years of service like we did. We haven't changed that or the sick leave payout, we haven't changed that the last handful of years. And then obviously the date they have to turn it in by, which is why if we do it, we have to approve, even if we change nothing else, we'd have to approve it because that date, once you're past it, is void.
Right.
Right, January 9th of 2026 is gonna only be good this year.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Trying to think of anything else to point out, but that really does kind of cover it.
Yeah.
Other things that, I can answer. I don't want to assume anything, but anything else that I can answer? And so like I said, G, if you approve it, you're approving to offer early retirement, and then H is you're just approving the changes to the policy. You know what I mean? That I was just showing you with the dollar. It's just approving the change in the language for the policy to update it for the current year. If you would not approve G, then H is
Mute point.
Yeah, mute point. We wouldn't vote on it.
So you need a motion.
Yeah, if no more discussion, I guess.
Make a motion to offer the early retirement policy.
One second.
All right. So it's been moved and seconded to offer early retirement for the 25-26 school year as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
So this policy, since we passed the last one, is approving then the changes to the language in the policies themselves. And that's the writing in green.
Yeah, I'll motion to accept the changes in the policy as written.
Second.
Okay. And then we want to read the three.
Do we have to vote
The
on it?
first reading and the second.
Yeah,
And then
approve it, and then we should, yes, thank you, Jamie. To approve the changes, but you should add into your motion, approve the first reading of the retirement policies and forego the second reading. Because technically we do, if there's big changes, 2 readings, but we can, in your motion, say skip the second reading.
Right, okay. So does Tom need to re-say that?
Yeah,
or-
he should,
okay.
sorry, I didn't say.
I have a motion to recommend to approve the first reading of the attached early retirement policies and forgo the second reading of the policies.
Okay. Arthur, second.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to go ahead, recommend the policy changes with approve the first reading and then foregoing the second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Our monthly payments to SiteLogic, as we're wrapping up they're always, about a month behind in how the bills come through and when they present them, and then we don't pay them until the next board meeting, so forth. Would we have, I can't remember, Kendra, would we potentially have one more set from SiteLogic, or was this the last one? Do you remember?
I think you said it was the last one.
From
but I'm
SiteLogic,
not
right?
sure.
Okay.
So these guys probably don't know what.
What's SiteLogic?
Yeah, I mean, if we
Oh,
want to.
my bad, sorry. So SiteLogic is the company that oversaw and ran the facilities construction project the past year.
Oh, okay.
So,
General.
Yeah.
in essence, they served as the general, and they oversaw, underneath them was L&L/Story that ran the project, but SiteLogic's the one that worked with us. They did the facility study, interviewed staff, did a survey with staff, and then based on their recommendations and what our potential budget would be was kind of the ones we worked with to put the project together, coordinated everything. When we didn't get the fire alarm project on its own done, they incorporated and added that in. And so.
So this is just approving the last payment for them?
Yeah, so we've had payments over time. The initial payments last year, before we had the bond payment, is they were billing us, but we didn't have the funds to do that, and they knew that, so we paid about 10% of that down, and then we had a remaining kind of revolving balance with them that they knew we would pay after what we got the the bond series approved in June. And so we've been paying them monthly. So I'm sorry, I made a poor assumption there. That's what Site Logic is. They're the ones that have overseen the project from basically start to finish.
And so is this payment scheduled for all of next, we're approving, or is it just approving the one-time payment? Or?
Just a one-time payment for this month. So right here.
2 invoices, right?
Yep. This first one is for $3,500 out of this is the design one. We've paid them out of this one $348,000 roughly overall. This is the remaining balance. And then that was for the services, and then the design portion, we're paying them $14,000 out of the overall services for about $560,000. That's what's left. And I think this is the final one specific to Site Logic. If not, they'll be finished next month, but they always trail about a month behind.
Well, I guess we gotta pay our bills.
Yeah. I guess I don't know what else you could add to that, so.
Is that all done? All those projects that they did?
Defined done.
For their work, yeah, I'll answer more of that on the next one.
Yeah.
Okay. Of what's not done and
Yeah.
the problem with Site Logic?
No, not necessarily with Site Logic. No. The problem is not Site Logic.
I guess it's a motion to approve the payments to Site Logic for the services on the elementary, middle school, and high school facilities for the improvement projects.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the payments to Site Logic as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
So we've had, since the project started, they call what's pay apps from L&L, and we usually confirm these first. So they're the ones that actually coordinated and facilitated the project. They bid that out to Site Logic, and we usually run these through those. We are still having issues in finalizing some of the work with the HVAC at the elementary, what they call the final commissioning. We have a third party come to do with that, and they have to meet that. So we work with Site Logic, we hold back a retainage, and they won't get that money until the work's completed. That's why I said wait till the next one.
Got it.
So yes, we are holding back a retainage on them, and we won't do that till Site Logic signs off on that, and because they kind of run that for us, and so we won't pay that till that's finalized or to a satisfactory point, and Site Logic will sign off and let us know that with L&L. But these are the pay apps that have been approved for, what's at the bottom here? This one's for roughly $38,000.
46,000,
And the other one's 46. Yep, they're right there. Opposite order, the other one's 46. But there is a retainage being held back.
And I think overall, we've been pretty happy with how everything's gone, right? I mean,
Overall, until like to really school started and just finalizing the stuff with the HVAC and some of that. I mean, I think it comes down to one subcontractor on that and doing that. But overall, yes, I have been very pleased with it. Getting across the finish line has been a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest challenge.
All right, any questions?
Make a motion to approve the builder's pay application.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to pay L&L Builders pay application number 6 and number 7 for the elementary project 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
So our next board meeting is scheduled the 15th. I'm proposing moving it up to 5. That is the night of the high school band and vocal concert, but also so that you guys that are new, we've worked this through the existing board. One of your roles as board members is to evaluate me. And so we've moved to a process where we do kind of mid-year check-ins every 3 months. And so December is one of those. So then at the end of, not that it'll take a super long, well, hopefully not, we'll find out. Well, we do that on December So it's every 3 months, December, March, June, and September. The official annual one is in March. But December, I think it'd be good to go through that, just to kind of, when we go through that and go into closed session, to just look at the process we've used in the past, to go through, through some of those forms. Not that it's overly difficult, but you won't have experienced or worked with that before, and answer some questions in December about that with your role in evaluating me, so that you kind of know that ahead of the March meeting, if that makes sense. So not that it'll take overly long. There's not a ton that's on the December one, not like tonight anyway, but that's why I propose moving it to 5 p.m. that night, just so that we can get done ahead of the meeting, or not the meeting, ahead of the concerts that night, and we'll finish with my evaluation at the end. Anything to add to that, Jamie, in terms of the evaluation?
No, you might have to get me up to speed on that a little bit. But there's some forms you fill out, right? I think.
There have been, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Okay. I guess, is there any thoughts about moving that?
Does that work for you guys too, is what I'm asking, I guess?
I can make
Yeah,
that
not a
work.
problem.
Okay.
Does it work for you, Jenny? I guess she doesn't get on. I'll motion to approve the change to the December meeting to 5 p.m.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we moved to second to approve the time change from 5 to 5 from 5:30 for the December 15th board meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
All right, just a reminder, I try to always put us 3 months out, and sometimes things come up that they have to change, like now a month ahead of time, moving December, but thank you for doing that. So it says 5:30, but we approved it to 5 p.m. on the 15th. The regular scheduled times for January in 2026, which is crazy to say, but it's January 19 and February 16, and then convention is this week, and I think I sent you guys information today on the specifics of that this week, Wednesday and Thursday. And then also keep on your calendars, we've had this on for a while, but with Luann from ISB, we'll have a board work session on some of our district goals on February 11th at 5:30. The 16th one we'll probably talk about in December, about changing that date, but we'll worry about that then in December. So those are things coming up. We already did board pictures.
Board pictures are done. So talking points, so a lot of this is kind of what happens during the meetings that we, good things that are going on in our district that we like to bring up, so.
Yeah, our highlights are things that you wanted to point out, or good things to remember that if people ask you about, you can say, oh yeah, we did. Yes. Whatever that is.
New board members.
Yeah, new board members.
Welcome.
Yeah.
No, I think it's exciting. I mean, appreciate the past, but I'm excited with the new board and you guys being willing to step up. I think that's a big part of that. I thought some of the presentation these guys
Amos and
made,
those guys did a
Amos,
good
yep.
job. We learned a lot about buses tonight.
And Greg and so forth.
Yeah. All right. Motion to adjourn.
I second.
He's asking for a motion.
Oh,
I make a
I thought you were
motion to
doing it.
adjourn.
I'm like, go ahead.
Do we have a
think you
motion
can.
to adjourn? Yeah.
No.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Okay. All right. Motion passed. All right. All those in
All in
favor
favor?
say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Great. Thank you guys.
Adjourned.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
They're not all
That broken tailbone.
No.
Sitting in these chairs that long. Ugh.